The centre at Great Brickhill is home to around 100 horses. It destroyed the roof of the farmhouse and caused extensive smoke and water damage inside. Jeff Bottle is from Bucks Fire and Rescue Service.
We've got now 10 appliances here. Quite a lot of those have come from the immediate area of Milton Keynes, but we've got command unit from Aylesbury, a hose laying lorry from down in Stokenchurch in South Bucks. So yes, it's drawn the resources from the whole of the county.
And it looks like you're going to be here way into...
And indeed, they have just finished, as we're hearing. In other news, some people living in Turvey say new signs just outside the village which welcome drivers to Milton Keynes are misleading. The signs on the A428, which mark the Milton Keynes borough boundary, are 13 miles away from the new city. Robert Chapman lives there.
I think they're too modern. They're not in keeping with the area. I suppose Milton Keynes must be, 12 miles away, 10, 12 miles away, for people coming to Milton Keynes, and it's not Milton Keynes, really.
A group of MPs and peers has suggested 3 senior bankers involved in the downfall of HBOS should never work in the financial services sector again. The Parliamentary Commission on Banking Standards has accused the former chairman and 2 former chief executives of incompetence. Official figures show that forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. The AA, which has highlighted the figures, put the fall down to a greater take-up of smaller vehicles and diesel cars. And scientists in Japan have done it again. They found a way to read dreams. Researchers used MRI scans to note different patterns of brain activity as people slept. They were able to work out what they were seeing and were accurate 60% of the time. So let's turn to the sport. And Gareth Bale left the pitch on a stretcher after going over on his ankle in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Basel in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final last night. Weather, and we're going to see more of those wintry showers across many areas. Some bright sunny spells developing though this afternoon. Temperatures of 8 degrees Celsius. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
Good morning, dear listener. Ian Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. I'm a bit tired this morning. I know the breakfast host should come on and go, well, yeah, hey, honk, honk of my horn. For some reason, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling nearly 40 today. I don't know why. I had quite an early night, got the kids to bed. I should be feeling fine and dandy. It's the weekend, that's why. Maybe I'm a little bit anxious. I shouldn't necessarily share this with you, but I'm going to. Otherwise, it will just come out in the Daily Mail. Something very big and important today. I've got my speed awareness course today. I know, I was naughty. I got caught speeding in Luton, and rightfully so, I am being punished. Very, very naughty. I've got no points on my licence, so I'm off for my speed awareness. I've got no idea what to expect. If you've been on one of these speed awareness courses, can you give me a call? And I'm a little bit nervous. 08459 455 555. Other things coming up on the show this morning include... Imagine if you went to hospital to be treated for one thing, only to receive a 3-inch deep wound to your lower back. It's an incredible story, and it's what happened to one man from Shefford. We'll hear his story next. Have you seen the new signs which say welcome to Milton Keynes? Well, some of them have been placed 13 miles from the city centre. I'll be speaking to one gentleman about and finding out why he's so annoyed about it. And it's Friday. That can mean only one thing. I have a catch-up with my nanny Eileen. She's going to be reviewing this week's BBC Introducing track. If you want to get in touch, you can go to facebook.com/BBC3CR, or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
I'm a little bit nervous about this speed awareness course. What do they make you do? Can you fail it? Is there like a quiz at the end and you it's going to be like going back to school. It's this afternoon, 12:30, and I'm a little bit anxious about it. I'm worried I'm going to end up sitting with someone naughty and we're just going to mess around and get thrown out or sent to prison. If you've done a speed awareness course, what's it going to be like? 08459 455 555. Oh, this next story is absolutely incredible. A man is still seeking answers 3 years on after receiving a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back at Bedford Hospital. The hospital acknowledge it happened in A&E after Keith Thompson from Shefford was admitted for complications to his epilepsy. He's since suffered from depression and the agony of not knowing what happened to him. Well, our reporter, Tony Fisher, has been speaking to Keith and his wife, Pam.
He has epilepsy, and after so many seizures, I have to call an ambulance so they can control it, really. But once he's like that, he's just sleeping. But they can monitor him while he's in there. Mm-hmm. And he gets taken into A&E. I got a phone call on the Saturday morning to say they were taking him down to theatre. And I said, why is he going down to theatre? And they said, we found a large hole. We don't know why, what's caused it.
A large hole?
A large hole, yeah.
Where?
Well, what they said was internal. And I thought, how do you know there's an internal hole? So anyway, what they actually said to me, it could be a life or death situation. Yeah. And I thought, what? So immediately, I phoned Keith's sister.
He'd only gone in to monitor his seizures.
Yes, yeah. It wasn't till the Sunday night, Keith was on the ward, and we found, I don't know if she was matron or what, we said, well, what's actually happened? And she said, well, he's actually received a 10-centimetre wound to the kind of at the bottom of his spine, at the top of his buttock. And it wasn't a scratch that went that way, it went inwards. So 10
centimetres inside him?
In went, yeah, 10 centimetres. Which
like as if someone had plunged a knife into him?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's about 3.5 inches, I think.
So it must have been a sharp object.
Oh, yeah, yes. Basically, we got told all conflicting stories.
And you were told that he was wandering down the wall corridor with blood dripping behind him?
One nurse said that 1 minute he was okay, the next minute they turned around and the bed was full of blood. Another one said they saw him walking down the corridor with a trail of blood. And another one said he climbed over the cot rails and impaled himself on a drip stand. And we also...
And Keith, you don't know what you did. You can't remember.
I've got no idea. It's totally blank.
I think that's what dragged him down a lot, the fact of not knowing what somebody did to you. The police, obviously, they investigated, but there's no cameras in A&E, only on the doorways.
And so what is the effect been, Keith, on you since this, 2009?
Well, to start with, that totally dragged him down, as you can imagine. I mean, it's the not knowing what happened to you, the pain. I was in a lot of pain.
And also, what I can't understand is that the fact that they even had a letter from the matron who signed it, that I don't seem to have taken that into consideration.
And that letter basically acknowledged that you had received this wound in the A&E?
And that I didn't have the wound when I was admitted to the hospital. Why would she sign it? To say that I didn't have a wound and they're not taking that in seriously.
Well, it really is the most incredible story, isn't it? Well, in a statement, Bedford Hospital apologises for the distress caused. It says a thorough investigation, also involving the police, proved inconclusive. As a result, the Trust does not consider it can do anything more, and the matter, for them at least, is now closed. So yes, I have been caught speeding. I'm happy to put my hand up. I was caught and I'm being punished. Good. It's the way it should be. Momentary lapse of concentration resulted in me breaking the law, and rightfully so, I'm being punished. Going to a speed awareness today. I'm a little bit nervous. Is it going to be like going back to school? If you've been to one, 08459 455 555. John has texted in 81333, starting his text 3CR. It's the most boring, dragging thing in the world. I'd take my pillow if I was you. Oh, dear. I'm very tired this morning anyway. I can't fall asleep in my speed awareness. I'm very nervous about it. I'm just worried I'm going to revert to being the naughty 15-year-old schoolboy again and get thrown out and sent to prison. Does anyone go on these speed... Let's be honest. If you've ever been on a speed awareness course, it's because you don't want points on your licence, isn't it? Isn't it, really? You're not going because you're keen and eager to make yourself a better person and a better driver. You're going because you don't want to get the 3 points on your licence and you don't want your premium to go up. That's what we're all doing it for, isn't it, really? There's no one there, I've been naughty. I need to learn how to drive properly. Sign me up for that. It's because you don't want 3 points. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. Oh, look at this, it's 6:15. Time to get the latest travel news now.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A5 in Milton Keynes has just reopened after an earlier accident, which meant the road was closed between Portway and Redmore roundabout. That shouldn't be causing any more problems for drivers. The roadworks are continuing on the M25 that has narrow lanes and a speed restriction of 50 miles an hour between junction 23 at South Mims to 25 for Enfield. And if you're driving in High Wycombe, New Road has temporary lights up around the electricity work between Ferny Fields and Squirrel Lane. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Brooke. Right, 6:15. It's Friday. Yay. The 5th of April. I'm Ian Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A man still wants answers 3 years after he discovered a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back at Bedford Hospital. Some people living in Turvey say new signs just outside the village, which welcome drivers to Milton Keynes, are misleading. And in sport, Gareth Bale left the pitch on a stretcher in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Basel in the Europa League last night. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks. Wintry showers across many areas. Some bright or sunny intervals developing, although the cold breeze will continue. Maximum temperature is 8 degrees. Coming up, signs saying welcome to Milton Keynes have been placed in the surrounding villages as far away as 13 miles from the city centre. Well, one local resident is furious. We'll hear why before 6:30.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Weekends on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Every Sunday morning from 6. Helen Lee.
The show is all about bringing people together, whatever their beliefs. I think decent people all share a common purpose, to lead happy and fulfilled and meaningful lives.
Helen Lee.
I'm nosy and I get to ask people I don't know lots of questions without them thinking I'm odd.
Every Sunday morning from 6.
Sunday mornings, always about playtime. It's true local radio and I love this place.
Helen Lee. Every Sunday morning from 6.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
I was debating whether to tell you all that I've got caught speeding and I'm going on a speed awareness. And I thought, well, I better have, because it'll come out at some point and then I'll fingers pointing at me. So, honesty. Speed awareness course today. I'm a little bit nervous. Alan's from Bletchley. Morning, Alan.
Hello, mate, you're right.
Yeah, I'm anxious about today. Have you been on one of these speed awareness?
Yeah, there's nothing to worry about, mate, at all.
Really?
No, you just sit in there, you'll listen to what they've got to say, they'll show you a few videos.
Oh.
You'll sit at the end of it, you'll see a little test. You can't fail it.
Oh.
It's just a little test where you'll see pictures as if you're sat in the car on the computer. You'll click a mouse when you're aware of any dangers around you. That's about it, mate, to be honest.
Okay. And so I don't need to take a pen or paper or anything?
No. They'll sort out how you need it. There's nothing major.
What? How fast were you doing, Alan, when you had to go?
I think I was doing about 36 or something in a 30 mile.
I was doing 36 in a 30. What is it with those guys? What's wrong with 36? It's naughty and it's against the law. So you went, Alan, didn't you? Because you didn't want to get points on your licence.
That's right, yeah.
It wasn't to make yourself a better human being.
No, not at all.
Alan, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much. No one goes because they want things, you know. I want to improve myself spiritually. It's because you don't want to pay a higher premium. That's what we're doing it for. I'm worried, though. There is a little test on a computer. Oh, what if I fail it? What are they going to do to me? 08459 455 555. New signs saying welcome to Milton Keynes. 13 miles from Milton Keynes. We'll talk more about it after this.
She makes me laugh, she makes me cry, with a twinkle of her eye. She flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird, oh me, oh my, see, I sigh. Now I know I can't let Maggie go. We walk here, we walk there. People stop and people stare, 'cause she flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird, oh me, oh my, see, I sigh. Now I know I can't let Maggie go. She flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird, oh me, oh my, see, I sigh. Now I know I can't let Maggie go.
Oh, I like that. It's nice, isn't it, Honey Bus? Can't let Maggie go. I haven't heard that for ages. Now, if you've got a story you think we should be talking about, we want to hear from you. Well, that's exactly what's happened this morning. Norman Kitchener from Lavenden has been in touch. He says signs saying, welcome to Milton Keynes, have been placed as far away as 13 miles from the city centre near Turvey in Bedfordshire. He says it's a waste of money to have signs in the surrounding villages. Well, Norman joins me now. Morning, Norman.
Morning, Ian.
Norman, tell me what's wrong with these signs.
Well, they're a waste of money. Well, the road between Northampton and Bedford is a disgrace. And when I was coming home the other week, I got to the boundary at Northampton. It says, welcome to Milton Keynes. Then I drive through to Turvey, through Lavenden to Turvey. The road, again, is a disgrace. Takes ages to get things done. And I get to Turvey and it says, thank you for visiting Milton Keynes. And when you come back, they're saying, what a total waste of money.
I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. When you saw, and it's miles from Milton Keynes, from the city centre.
12, 13 miles away.
When you saw these signs, did you think they'd been put there by mistake? What was your reaction?
Well, I just wonder what numpty on the council sort of allowed this to happen when we're trying to save money and need money to spend money on the roads.
Now, I'm guessing from what you're saying that you would rather that the money that had been spent on these signs had been spent on something like fixing potholes or making the roads a bit better.
Yeah, it does. The roads are a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
Do we know how much these signs cost, Norman?
I would have thought off the top of my head between £300 and £500 each, and there's 4 in a stretch of about, 5 miles.
Do you know what I reckon? Again, I don't know. I'm just guesstimating. I reckon it could be a bit more. You got to build them, got to fit them, and I'm going to ask you a question, Norman. Is it a case that just you and people in Turvey don't want to associate yourself with Milton Keynes?
Not at all. Not at all. I pay my rates to Milton Keynes, but I want the money spent in better ways. I mean, where I live, we need some trees topping down. When we rung up the council and asked this to be done, they hadn't got the money to do it. No money available. But there's money available to put up needless signs.
Norman, later on in the show, we're going to speak to Milton Keynes Council, and they're probably going to argue that the signs aren't in the wrong place. They welcome people to the borough of Milton Keynes. What would you say to them, Norman? And we'll play it to them when they come on.
Well, I can't see why you need welcome into the borough of Milton Keynes. We're all in Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes is well, it's not a city yet, but it hopefully will be at some stage. And Milton Keynes from us is 12, 13 miles away. Everybody knows where Milton Keynes is. It's been there long enough.
Norman, I really appreciate you getting in touch with us yesterday. Thank you very much. Norman Kitchener, who got in touch with us at BBC Three Counties Radio to point this out. By the way, I got flack. He mentioned the city thing there. I got flack, I think, on Facebook for calling Milton Keynes the new city. It's not a city. Why do you call it the new city? Well, I know it's not a city, but it is. People call it the new city, don't they? That's the weird thing. So I do understand your confusion, and I apologise for that. Well, Norman, thank you very much. We wanted to find out exactly what the signs are like and where they are. So we sent our top reporter, Jessica Cooper, to have a look at them.
Turvey is a typical Bedfordshire village. It's got a pub, shops, and it's surrounded by green fields. Now, just outside the village, signs have gone up saying, "Welcome to Milton Keynes." The next village, Coalbrayfield, does actually fall in the borough of Milton Keynes, but the town centre and where the shops are is still miles away. What do you think of the new signs?
Well, they look really posh, but I mean, I can't understand why it's here when we're so far from Milton Keynes itself. As we're coming into Turvey, it seems weird that the sign's there.
And you've just driven from Northampton to Turvey.
I've just actually come from Northampton and not from Milton Keynes, but it said thanks for visiting Milton Keynes, which is a bit strange.
So for people that don't know the area then and don't know if they're in Milton Keynes or not, what do you think about those signs?
It's a bit misleading, isn't it, really? As if we've all just come from Milton Keynes when we haven't really, have we? A lot of us. I mean, it's just strange to see the sign there. Such a big sign as well, which must have cost quite a bit of money.
I think they're too modern. They're not in keeping with the area. It doesn't bother me what they say, really, but technically, for me, that sign should say Buckinghamshire and not Milton Keynes.
And for people coming to the area who maybe don't know it very well and they drive through that, do you think that it seems like they've arrived in Milton Keynes?
That would be confusing, really. I suppose Milton Keynes must be 12 miles away, 10, 12 miles away for people coming to Milton Keynes, and it's not Milton Keynes, really.
Do we need to clutter up the countryside with more signs? Where if people know where Milton Keynes is, it's irrelevant, really. They're so far away from Milton Keynes. You might as well be saying welcome to Northampton or Birmingham, so no, I don't see any point in having them.
I suppose the person who put them up might argue that actually it's publicising that you're in Milton Keynes Borough and you're getting it towards the direction of Milton Keynes. Do you kind of see that point?
No, why don't they say welcome to the Borough of Milton Keynes, or you are X number of miles from Milton Keynes?
I'm just getting in the car. I'm going to drive from Turvey, from the new signs which say welcome to Milton Keynes, and I'm going to drive to what I call Milton Keynes, which is where the shops are, to see how long it takes. So 20 minutes and 13 and a half miles after I passed those welcome to Milton Keynes signs just outside of Turvey, I have arrived in central Milton Keynes at the shopping centre. And on the way here, incidentally, I passed another sign which said Milton Keynes Borough and New City, but that came 10 miles after Turvey. So it seems when you pass the new signs outside of Turvey saying welcome to Milton Keynes, you're actually being welcomed to the borough of Milton Keynes, and you definitely aren't that close to Milton Keynes itself.
Well, that's our reporter Jessica Cooper. What do you think? Do you think the signs are misleading? You can go to the Facebook page and have a look. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Gina's been there already. You a keen, Gina? I saw one last night just outside Bedford. I had to look twice. Really? Do we need money wasted on these so many miles out of Milton Keynes? And some of you have been tweeting at BBC3CR. Michael Horn says, perhaps adding a simple city centre 13 miles would solve the problem. Look, there's even a space for it. There is. There's a weird sort of little bonus sign underneath that's blank. What's that for? Chris Knox says it's the MK version of an invasion. It will merge all towns and villages and make them all modern. Adam says, no more misleading than the arrivals at Luton Airport, which say welcome to London. Yeah, you would be disappointed, wouldn't you, if you're a Japanese tourist and you arrived at London Luton. Well, how do I get to London? You were miles away, mate. How much in a cab? It's going to cost you a few quid. We're nowhere near London. And Andrew Collins says, no surprise, a few years ago they wanted Milton Keynes to be part of the name of Luton Airport. Have a look at these signs, facebook.com /BBC3CR. What do you think? Are they misleading? We'll be speaking to someone from Milton Keynes Council a little bit later on in the show to get get their opinion on it. Right, 6:20. I can't speak today. I might go home early. Here's the travel news with Brooke.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Traffic is coping well across the three counties. Light traffic on my cameras on the motorways, the M25, M40, both flowing freely. There are roadworks that might cause delays late, including in Wealdstone High Road has gas main works at the junction for Risinghome Road. Also over in St Albans, Folly Lane, that has works on the water mains near the junction for Westview Road. No problems reported on the trains, not too bad at all. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. We're talking speed awareness. And we're talking these Milton Keynes signs that are 13 miles away from the city centre. 08459 455 555.
Getting beds, Herts and Bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. With the headlines, I'm Serena Farrow. A man still wants answers 3 years after he discovered a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back at Bedford Hospital. Elsewhere, around 40 firefighters were called to an equestrian centre near Milton Keynes last night. It destroyed the roof of the farmhouse and caused extensive smoke and water damage inside. Some people living in Turvey said new signs just outside the village which welcome drivers to Milton Keynes are misleading. And official figures show that forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. We'll have more from our reporter Justin Dealey in the next half an hour on that. That's the news. Let's move on to the sport now.
Beds, Herts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So Tottenham came from 2 goals down to secure a 2-2 draw against FC Basel in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final last night. Emmanuel Adebayor and Sigurdsson scored to put Spurs back in the tie, but the draw did come at a cost.
Gareth Bale is, as I speak, being loaded onto a stretcher and about to leave the field. They've already lost Aaron Lennon and William Gallas to injuries tonight, and Gareth Bale, this could have a huge impact on Tottenham's close to the season.
Meanwhile, the other sides who are in action, Chelsea, they've put themselves in a good position to reach the last 4 in the Europa League. That's after they beat Rubin Kazan 3-1. Newcastle, though, are facing elimination after they lost 3-1 at Benfica. Moving away from football, and today is day 2 of the Grand National Festival at Aintree. The racing yesterday was overshadowed by the death of the horse Battlefront, who died after being pulled up by jockey Katie Walsh during the Fox Hunters chase. And Great Britain's men's tennis players are in Davis Cup action against Russia in Coventry later on today. BBC Three Counties Radio, more from me at 7.
Across Beds, Herts and Bucks, this is Ian Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Another thing about those signs, it's all in lowercase. When did we stop using capital letters for names of things? No, for goodness sakes, how hard is it to press the shift key? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. This is Ian Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up between now and 7 o'clock, North Korea has threatened military action against the United States, resulting in a significant increase in tension between the two countries. We'll be finding out the latest on that situation. And forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. Well, has the high cost of petrol forced you onto public transport? I drive a lot less than I used to. I mean, I drive to and from work because I have to, but otherwise, I get the bus. Reporter Justin Dealey has been finding out about this. Have you been using less petrol because of the increase in prices? 08459 455 555. Here's Adele.
I heard that you're settled down, that you found a girl and you're married now. I heard that your dreams came true. Guess she gave you things I didn't give to you. Old friend, why are you so shy? Ain't like you to hold back or hide from the light. I hate to turn up out of the blue uninvited, but I couldn't stay away, I couldn't fight it. I had hoped you'd see my face and that you'd be reminded that for me it isn't over. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you too. Don't forget me, I beg. I remember you say sometimes it lasts and loves, but sometimes it hurts instead. Sometimes it lasts and loves, but sometimes it hurts instead. You know how the time flies. Only yesterday was the time of our lives. We were born and raised in a summer haze, bound by the surprise of our glory days. I hate to turn up out of the blue uninvited, but I couldn't stay away, I couldn't fight it. I had hoped you'd see my face and that you'd be reminded that for me it isn't over. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you too. Don't forget me, I beg. I remember you say sometimes it lasts in love, but sometimes it hurts instead. Nothing compares, no worries or cares, regrets and mistakes, their memories made. Who would have known how bittersweet this would taste? Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you. Don't forget me, I beg. I remember you said sometimes it lasts in love, but sometimes it hurts instead. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you too. Don't forget me, I begged. I remember you say sometimes it lasts in love, but sometimes it hurts instead. Sometimes it lasts in love, but sometimes it hurts instead.
Morning, this is Ian Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. North Korea has threatened military action against the United States, resulting in a significant increase in tension between the two countries. North Korea said it had given its army final approval to launch what it called merciless strikes, possibly with nuclear weapons. But do they have the capability to launch nuclear weapons? Paul Rogers is Professor of Peace Studies at Bradford University. Morning, Professor.
Good morning, Ian.
How likely is it that North Korea could launch a nuclear strike?
It's very unlikely. The North Koreans do not appear to have got that far in terms of trying to miniaturise nuclear systems to the point where they'll get them on what's called the front end of a missile. The United States is not of the view, and this, as far as one can tell, concerns all the intelligence agencies, is not of the view that North Korea has got that far, and it could be some years away. But that doesn't mean that the rhetoric isn't very dangerous, and I think the overnight statement, another statement by the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, is spot on. He says this is the kind of circumstance where things can get out of hand. We're not facing a nuclear war at present, but we're certainly facing the risk of a crisis to what could be a very dangerous conflict.
So if not nuclear, what weapon capability do they have?
Most of their weapons are basically relatively short range. They do have a wide range of sort of battlefield missiles. They have very large numbers of tanks and mobile artillery. I have to say the South Koreans are incredibly well armed themselves with much more modern weapons. But one of the problems for the South Koreans is that their capital city is really quite close to the North Korean border. So is a major port port Incheon. So if there was any kind of conflict, the civilian casualties could be very high. As far as longer range action by the North Koreans, it's not clear how successful their missiles would be. They've had many false alarms and accidents in launches, things just going wrong. But they probably do have a capability to launch some conventionally armed missiles at Japan, South Korea, and quite possibly, just possibly, even as far as Guam, which is a big American base a couple of thousand miles away.
So to put everybody's mind here at rest in Beds, Hearts and Bucks, there's no way they could hit us, is there?
No, there isn't. Absolutely not. It's
Okay.
quite an extraordinary statement by Mr. Cameron the other day suggesting they could. They're nowhere near that.
Okay. Is it just posturing, Professor?
It's partly posturing. You've got a new leader, a young leader, a lot of quite key people behind him who want to project him as somebody of considerable power. But the extraordinary thing is that while this rhetoric is directed mainly at South Korea and particularly the United States, the real target is actually China. Reason for this, I just say, is that the Chinese are not supporting the North Koreans in the way that they did. They've backed the recent UN Security Council sanctions resolution, and the North Koreans are really trying to, or it's kind of almost in-your-face response to the Chinese saying, we are more important and you better realise it.
Now, isn't that interesting? Because I always thought that the reason America would never launch a strike against North Korea is because China would become involved on the side of the Koreans. Are you saying that relationship is falling apart between North Korea and China?
The relationship is much more difficult. The Chinese are frankly getting exasperated by the behaviour of the North Korean regime, and I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But at the same time, the United States is not in the business of going to attack North Korea unless there was a major preemptive attack by North Koreans against the South. It's not something the US is going to start. But one of the reasons the Chinese have backed the North Koreans in the past is they do not want the regime to collapse, partly because they don't want the Koreas reunified with potentially Western troops right on their border, but partly because if there was a collapse, they could have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of destitute North Koreans trying to get into China across the Yari River. So the Chinese really want to have a situation in which North Korea is stable and slowly changes for the better and slowly opens up.
How worried should South Korea be?
Well, the South Koreans are obviously concerned, but they've had these kinds of crises before, and they are very well protected themselves. They have very large armed forces, and I think because they're so close to it, because they've seen this kind of rhetoric and these extraordinary language coming out of Pyongyang in the past, they're probably not as concerned as some other people. But that doesn't mean they're not worried, because, as you say, the risk here is something untoward happening, an accident or an incident or the behaviour of some sort of maverick, and that's the thing which could tip this over from a crisis into something more serious, which is why, again, Ban Ki-moon is trying to say, look, for heaven's sake, cool it.
Professor Paul Rogers, Professor of Peace Studies at Bradford University, thank you very much. Well, I hope that's put your mind at ease. There was Cameron banging on the other day, North Korea could hit us. They can't. So don't worry about that. But still, an interesting and slightly concerning time. 08459 455 555. Should we have some of the Lovin' Spoonful? Yes, why not?
Summer in the city, back of my neck getting dirt and gritty. Bend down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around, people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk harder than a match head. But at night it's a different world. Go out and find a girl. Come on and dance all night. Despite the heat, it'll be alright. And babe, don't you know it's a pity the days can't be like the nights in the summer, in the city, in the summer, in the city. Cool town, meeting in the city, dressed so fine and looking so pretty. Cool cat, looking for a kitty, gonna look in every corner of the city. Till I'm wheezing like a bus stop, running up the stairs, gonna meet you on the rooftop. But at night it's a different world. Go out and find a girl. Come on and dance all night. Just like the heat, it'll be alright. And babe, don't you know it's a pity the days can't be like the nights in the summer, in the city, in the summer, in the city. Been down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around, people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk harder than a match head. But now it's a different world. Go out and find a girl. Come on, and dance all night. Despite the heat, it'll be alright. And babe, don't you know it's a pity the days can't be like the nights in the summer in the city. Summer in the city.
The Loving Spoonful. You do know how they got their name, don't you? I know, dirty, horrible. You know what it is? I'm not going to tell you. Vile. Good morning, this is Ian Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Here's the travel news now with Brooke Burford.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Ian. It's not looking too bad at all. No delays on my speed sensors on the major A routes. Can't spot any queues on my cameras. Ongoing roadworks, though, in Maids Moreton. On Moreton Road, there's work on the gas mains at Avenue Road. Little Chalford, Nightingales Lane, that has electricity work near Harewood Road. Temporary lights have been put up there. That might cause problems for you later. Apart from that, though, it's all looking good. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Brooke. Right, 6:45, Friday the 5th of April. I'm Ian Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A man receiving treatment at Bedford Hospital still doesn't know how he ended up with a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back, and he's still looking for an explanation 3 years on. Signs welcoming drivers to Milton Keynes have been labelled misleading after being placed 13 miles away from the city centre. And in sport, there were wins for Tottenham and Chelsea in the Europa League last night, but Newcastle lost 3-1. Coming up, Friday. It's my favourite time of the week, round about now, because I get to catch up with my nanny Eileen. She's my adopted nanny, and she gets to listen to one of this week's BBC introducing tracks. I've heard the song this week. I think she might like it. Before that, let's get the latest weather. Here's Elizabeth Rossini.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Well, yesterday, some of our stations recorded the coldest April day that it's been for nearly 50 years. But today, it's going to be a bit of an improvement. Hooray. Now, we might just see a few very light wintry flurries, particularly over parts of Hertfordshire, I think, through the course of the morning. But generally very cloudy. Another cold one, I'm afraid, with that northeasterly wind. But we will see it dry out into the afternoon, and hopefully some of that cloud start to thin and break as well. So brighter by later on in the day, and where we do get the late brightness and even perhaps a little bit of sunshine, you never know your luck, then we might get up to 7 or even 8 degrees Celsius later on in Aylesbury, Luton and in Stevenage as well. That's 46 in Fahrenheit. I think most places south of those are going to see quite a lot of cloud though for the rest of the day, but you know, it's an improvement on yesterday. Temperatures tonight are going to take a bit of a tumble all the way down to -2, -3 degrees Celsius, because the skies for a large part of the night are going to clear, and eventually we're going to see that northeasterly winds lighten as well, and that certainly is good news. I can't think of anybody that's going to miss that horrible thing. But to start the day tomorrow, a very cold start, widespread frost, but of course it is going to be quite a nice day without that horrible northeasterly wind. So much lighter winds tomorrow. It will stay dry. There'll be some decent spells of sunshine out there and brightness. So actually in the sunshine, then temperatures rising to 8 degrees, even 9, or we might even scrape double figures at some point over the weekend as well. It will actually feel like it this time without the wind chill. Unfortunately, next week's not looking quite as good as we originally hoped. It now looks like it is going to turn quite wet and windy at times, and we'll have to wait a few more days before that milder air pushes through. That's the forecast.
Do you know how the band The Loving Spoonful got their name?
No, please tell me.
I can't. That's the problem. I wish I hadn't raised it now. I thought everyone knew. I just told work experience Ollie and producer Laura. They looked disgusted. It's the same reason that 10cc have got their name. Oh, I can't tell. And don't phone in, please. It really is very dirty.
Every weekday from 3, Roberto Perrone with the best local news stories.
I get to meet a lot of really interesting people with the most amazing stories.
We feel as if we haven't been taken notice of.
Yesterday we heard that the bank had gone, but today it's still there.
The cat got delivered up in Kabul. You should be back in the UK in 2 months.
With the best local talking points.
Do some of the bakers have flapjack fights?
No, of course not, Roberto. Well, not in our shops.
Roberto Perrone, weekdays from 3.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Dealey's up next. Morning, Justin.
Yes, hello, Ian.
Just quickly to go off on a tangent. You know how the Loving Spoonful got their name, don't you?
Yes, very dirty. It was 10cc. I've got no idea on that one. Can you fill me in?
Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably being a bit more conscious of how much petrol you're using. You're very naughty, Justin. Maybe you're driving more slowly or using public transport. I'm doing both. Well, forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. Our reporter, Justin Dealey, has been finding out what impact the high cost of petrol is having on you. Is that right, Justin?
That is right. I was very naughty there. Sorry, Ian. I'm surprised by this personally. I'll tell you why. Because whenever I've spoken about this in the past, people say to me the price of petrol, very, very expensive. But, of course, people do still need their cars. I mean, in saying that, this report is saying that sales of diesel have in actual fact gone up.
Right.
I've been talking to people in Luton about the cost of fuel and what impact that is having on their lives, and this is what people have had to say.
Marilyn, petrol sales are down. In terms of yourself and your family, have you started using your car less now?
Yes. We use it to go to work and take my daughter to the hospital, but that's it. We can't afford to take it on holidays or days out or even go shopping. It's all buses now.
Buses and walking. I mean, that must make you feel pretty bad because you were using your car a lot more before. Now, a lot more effort involved for you and your family.
Yeah, just a bit, because I can't even go and see my other children that are in Oxford and that. So, yeah, it makes it hard. Very hard.
Now, Maureen, you don't drive, but it's got nothing to do with fuel prices. You got all the way to your test and you said, I'm not doing this because there's too many idiots on the road. Is this correct?
That's correct.
And genuinely, right to the end, and you thought, no, not doing it.
Don't want to do it, no. You got to have eyes everywhere and there's just too many people doing stupid things and I didn't want to risk it because I've got children.
And that was 18 years ago. You're about to jump on the bus now. Would you ever consider getting a car again?
No, I'll go with my husband. I'm on a second pair of eyes for him.
Now, madam, you don't own a car yourself, but your family are struggling with the price of petrol. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, definitely. One person working in the family and having 3 children, you know, food comes first. But no, they do. And obviously not going out and about and seeing regular people in the family like we used to.
So your children saying to you, sorry, Mum, I can't come and see you because the petrol prices are too much?
Not so in so many words. So in the end, I often, at least once a month, give them petrol money so they can get out and about with 3 children because you can't stay in, especially in school holidays.
It's a sad state of affairs, though, isn't it, when you're having to do that?
Absolutely.
Well, a lot of people, they're changing the way they travel, Justin.
Yeah, couldn't quite believe that, I have to say. I didn't really know what to expect this morning. Very, very sad there. One lady saying she can't go and see her daughter. Another lady saying, well, my daughter won't admit it, but I know she's struggling with the price of petrol, so I'm giving her petrol money at least once a month so she can go out with the kids. So
one of those people mentioned the idiots on the road. I'm one of those idiots on the road. I've got speed awareness today.
I didn't want to say anything, but fascinating. When 18 years ago, even back then, she was saying, I got all the way to my test and I thought, you know what, I don't want this because I want to be around, I want to live my life. I feel like if I pass my test and I go on the roads, it's too dangerous for me. Incredible.
Are the roads too dangerous, do you think, Justin?
I mean, I don't think so personally, but clearly that lady does.
OK, Justin Dealey, excellent stuff. We'll speak to you later on. Thank you very much. What do you think? The road's too dangerous? And are you changing your driving habits because of petrol is expensive? I drive a lot slower now. You save a fortune. It's an absolute fortune. I can't quantify that, but you do save a lot of money. And I get the bus or walk wherever I can. The buses where I've moved to aren't that good, to be honest, so I kind of walk a lot. 08459 455 555. Have you changed your driving or your travelling habits because of the increase in petrol? It's kind of gone down a little bit, but it's still quite pricey. Now, BBC Introducing supports the unsigned, undiscovered and upcoming musicians from the 3 counties. If you're making music, you can upload your best tracks and get it heard on the BBC by going to bbc.co.uk/introducing. Well, your song could get played on the radio, or more excitingly, it could become part of the new phenomenon it could be reviewed by my adopted Nanny Eileen. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning, Ian.
How have you been this week, Nanny Eileen?
Very well, thank you. The weather's put a stop to me gallop a bit, but...
It's flipping cold, isn't it?
It is, but wasn't Wednesday lovely? The sun shone.
The sun was nice, but it's deceptive, because you think, I'll go out and have a little stroll. It's still very chilly out there.
Yeah, you're quite right. Quite right.
Did you have a nice Easter, Nanny Eileen?
Very quiet, but very nice.
Did you get any Easter eggs?
Oh, yes, I got my Easter egg.
Good for you.
But the one thing that annoyed me was that I can't watch live Formula One. I'm cross about that.
Why can't you watch it?
Because it's on Sky now.
Oh, nuts. It's on the Sky, isn't it? BBC lost it.
Yes.
Does that... And what's... I never got the fascination with watching rich millionaires driving really fast. Why is it so exciting for you?
I really don't know, but I'm fascinated by it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you can't get to watch that. But anyway, listen, we've got a good track for you this week.
Good.
I've heard this. I think I don't want to presume anything. I think you might like this.
Good.
It's by Tanisha Rose. She's from Stevenage. The song is called Jezebel. Do you want to have a quick listen?
Yes, please.
Speak to you after this.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, no. Raise your mind, so don't even go there. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Watching the clock, can hardly wait. Going out on a new date. So excited, but hesitate. For a while, anticipate. But I read your mind. So don't even go there. Don't cross the line. Ain't as sure I ain't losing, I ain't cheating. Won't get on your backseat. Slap your face at my heels. If only this could kill. So just stop, let's rewind. 'Cause you're all of a kind. It ain't easy. No, I ain't got Jezebel. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, no. Ain't got Jezebel. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, I ain't got femme fatale in your Jezebel. So this time, you're out of luck. Do I care? I don't give up. Show me love, show me respect. We don't connect. I read your mind, so don't even go there. Boy, don't you cross the line. I ain't as sure, I ain't losing, I ain't cheating. Won't get on your backseat. Slap your face at my heels. If only this could kill. So just stop, let's rewind. 'Cause you're all of a kind. It ain't easy. No, I ain't got Jezebel. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, no. Ain't got Jezebel. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, I ain't got femme fatale. No, I ain't got femme fatale. Me, love.
Well, that's our BBC introducing track of the week. It's called Jezebel by Tanisha Rose from Stevenage. Nanny Eileen, what did you think?
She's good, isn't she?
Isn't she good?
She is good, and I like that beat.
Isn't it? Listen to the beat again. Here we go. She's excellent.
Oh, you can really bop to that.
Oh, we were bopping away here in the studio.
Yes, likewise.
What would you, if you had to sum that song up, Nanny Eileen, in one word, what one word would you use?
Lively.
Very lively. You can't say any fairer than that. I did enjoy that. And she sent me a tweet in the week, and I have to say, and this is irrelevant to the music in the 21st century.
Yes.
She's a stunner as well, Nanny Eileen.
Is she?
Okay, I'm going to put my money on this. I reckon that she will be in the top 10 on Top of the Pops by the end of this year.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll watch her climb.
We will watch. Oh, yeah, we will watch her climb.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll get tickets to her backstage concert when she does a gig at the O2 or something.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
We'll see if we can sort it out. Nanny, pleasure to talk to you. Have a lovely weekend, my dear, and I'll speak to you soon.
And you.
Bye-bye. There we go. That was we enjoyed that. Jezebel by Tanisha Rose. Fantastic stuff. I think that's superb. But what do I know? As I'm a very old man. But Nanny Eileen loved it, and she described it as lively. 08459 455 555. There's kind of a driving theme to the show today. I'm off on a speed awareness course later. I'm a little bit nervous. If you've been on one, is there anything to fear? Are they a bit pointless? We're all doing it, aren't we, to avoid the points on our licence? To be honest, it's not because I'm filled... I feel bad. I've been speeding, of course, but I'm not filled with remorse and hoping this will make me a better person. I don't know if I should be saying this on the radio. I'm doing it because I don't want to get the points on my licence. That's the only reason people go... If you've been on one, did you actually learn anything? 08459 455 555. And are you changing your driving habits because of the increase in the price of petrol? We'll discuss more after the travel with Brooke Burford.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, I've had a look through all my cameras and nothing much to report, really. Traffic's flowing freely on the motorways. No reports of any problems on the major A routes either. There are, of course, roadworks. They continue. That may slow you down. The M25 has narrow lanes and a speed restriction of 50 miles an hour between junction 23 at South Mims to 25 for Enfield. And over in St Albans, Folly Lane, that has works on the water main, so the junction for Westview Road. No problems reported on the trains. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Coming up after the news, the most remarkable story: a gentleman goes to hospital because he's having a little bit of problems with his epilepsy and his seizures, and somehow gets a 3-inch deep wound at his back. No one knows anything about it. It really is incredible. We'll talk about that and more after the latest news and sport with Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, Herts and Bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, the headlines. Bedford man wants to know why he was wounded whilst in hospital. The signs for Milton Keynes confusing, and petrol sales fall.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A man receiving treatment at Bedford Hospital still doesn't know how he ended up with a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back. He's still looking for an explanation 3 years on. The hospital, though, do acknowledge it happened in A&E after Keith Thompson from Shefford was admitted for complications to his epilepsy. His wife, Pam, says he's suffered.
It's the not knowing what happened to you, the pain. I was in a lot of pain. We had to have nurses round every day that used to have to pack the wound from the inside out. So it's just the pain, the embarrassment. It was just everything.
Well, in a statement, Bedford Hospital apologises for the distress caused. It says a thorough investigation proved inconclusive. As a result, the Trust doesn't consider it can do anything else, and the matter's now closed. Turning to other news, an investigation's being carried out after 40 firefighters were called to an equestrian centre near Milton Keynes last night. 100 horses live at the Great Brickhill site, but no one or animal was injured. The fire's now out, but speaking from the scene last night is Jeff Bottle from Bucks Fire and Rescue Service.
We've got now 10 appliances here. Quite a lot of those have come from the immediate area of Milton Keynes, but we've got command unit from Aylesbury, a hose laying lorry from down in Stokenchurch in South Bucks. So yes, it's drawn the resources from the whole of the county.
The UN Secretary-General wants North Korea to tone down its nuclear rhetoric. Ban Ki-moon says he was concerned that any miscalculation may have serious implications. Locally, and signs welcoming drivers to Milton Keynes have been labelled misleading after being placed 13 miles away from the new centre. The signs on the A428 near Turvey mark the Milton Keynes borough boundary. But these locals don't understand the need for them.
It was a bit misleading, isn't it, really? It's just strange to see the sign there. Such a big sign as well, which must have cost quite a bit of money.
Well, if people know where Milton Keynes is, it's irrelevant, really. And they're so far away from Milton Keynes, you might as well be saying welcome to Northampton or Birmingham.
And we've got more on this story coming up with Ian Lee here on BBC Three Counties Radio in the next half an hour. Official figures show forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. The AA, which highlighted them, put the fall down to a greater take-up of smaller vehicles and diesel cars. Well, these people across the three counties say they struggle to pay the high fuel costs.
We use it to go to work and take my daughter to the hospital, but that's it. We can't afford to take it on holidays or days out or even go shopping. It's all buses now.
One person working in the family and having 3 children, food comes first. Obviously not going out and about and seeing regular people in the family like we used to.
Moving on to football, and Gareth Bale left the pitch on a stretcher last night after going over on his ankle in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Barcelona in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final. And we're going to see some more wintry showers on the way, but then it'll become bright and sunny this afternoon, apparently. Temperatures 8 degrees Celsius. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC 3 Counties Radio first for news.
I am loving your work, Serena.
Ah.
Good morning, this is Ian Lee, BBC 3 Counties Radio. Lots coming up between now and 8 o'clock, including just the most remarkable story. Imagine you went into hospital to be treated for complications to epilepsy, only to receive a 3-inch deep wound to your lower back, and no one knows how it got there. Well, that's exactly what happened to one Shefford man. We'll hear his story next. Have you seen the new signs which say welcome to Milton Keynes? Some of them have been placed 13 miles from the city centre. Well, a Lavender man, Norman Kitchener, is furious about it. Do you think they're misleading? Have a look at our Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can see one of the signs there. And petrol sales have fallen by a quarter in the last 5 years. What effect is the high cost of fuel having on you? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text, 81333, start your text 3CR, or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC 3 Counties Radio.
A man is still seeking answers 3 years on after receiving a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back at Bedford Hospital. The hospital acknowledge it happened in A&E after Keith Thompson from Shefford was admitted for complications to his epilepsy. He's since suffered from depression and the agony of not knowing what happened to him. Well, Keith and his wife Pam join me now. Pam, I'll start with you. Good morning, Pam.
Yeah, good morning.
Pam, take me back to March 2010. Why was Keith admitted to Bedford Hospital?
Because he'd been having a series of epileptic fits. And after he has so many, I have to call an ambulance and they take him into hospital just to kind of, look after him and make sure he doesn't have any more.
So you called an ambulance,
yeah,
and they took him. You stayed at home. They took him to A&E at Bedford Hospital.
Yeah, 15:35 actually.
15:35. you know it precisely.
Yes.
And so you thought, oh, okay, well he's with the best people. He'll be fine.
Yes.
Then what happened?
I phoned that evening to be told he was fine, no problems, because normally after somebody has so many fits, I know everyone's different, but normally he will just sleep. He can sleep for 2 days.
The seizures would knock it out of him, would
yes.
it? Okay.
Yes. So I was quite happy Friday evening. Saturday morning, I got a phone call that said they were taking him down to a theatre because they'd found a large internal hole.
A large internal hole?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds incredible. What did you think?
Well, my first reaction was, oh, okay. Put the phone down, and I thought, hang on a minute, have they got the right person? So I phoned back, and they said, yes, there's a large internal hole. We don't know how or why, and it could be life-threatening.
Wow.
They were the exact words. So immediately I got my daughter, I got Keith's sister, and we went over to the hospital.
What happened when you got there, Pam?
We couldn't really find anything out properly. All we knew that Keith had got this hole. He was in theatre. We still didn't find anything out come Saturday night. On the Sunday, when he was on the ward, we thought this is all very, very strange. So we actually found, I'm not sure if she was a matron or sister or what, and we said, well, what's actually happened? And she said, oh, hang on a minute, we'll look at the notes. And she said, yes, He received a 10-centimetre wound caused by something sharp.
And that's 10 centimetres deep inside his body?
Inside,
Wow.
yeah. And it was like the top of his buttocks.
Right.
In the centre. And it was caused by something sharp.
And so hang on a second. This happened probably Friday night, and they only told you this on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And you had to ask about it.
Yeah.
And did they give any indication of how this happened?
No. None whatsoever. They don't know. I mean, I've got all the paperwork in front of me, and it says thorough investigations. They couldn't find, there was nothing sharp in the area. They even suggested that maybe he climbed over the side of the trolley and impaled himself on a drip stand.
What?
Yeah. Now, if somebody had done that,
Yeah.
I think somebody would have heard. And
did Keith? Was Keith out of it, and that's why he didn't
He
kind
didn't
of say,
know.
"Oh, I've got a pain in my back." He was unaware
No.
of this.
Yeah, he's totally unaware.
This really is, Pam, just
It's
the
very
most
bizarre, isn't it?
Isn't it just? It's the most incredible story. I mean, it sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if I'm wrong. It does sound to me like a stab wound, as though someone stabbed him with a knife. Is that what you kind of believe?
Yeah, and knife, scissors. Because the fact that they checked all around the area, there was nothing sharp found anywhere. Not on the floor, nowhere. So what we did on the Sunday night, we actually called the police.
Yeah.
To investigate. But unfortunately, they didn't come up with anything. And the CCTV recordings obviously don't show cubicles.
No.
And we found out, as I say, on the Sunday, that it happened in A&E. It actually happened at 17:55, when one of the nurses say they saw him walking down the corridor with blood dripping down from his back.
Let's just clarify. This happened 3 years ago. He's fine physically as a result of this, isn't he?
Not really.
Is he
no.
not?
No, we say. I mean, as I say, my daughter and everybody. Since it happened, he went downhill. Really?
In what way?
I think because of stress, embarrassment. Because when he came out of hospital, we had to have the nurses in every day to pack the wound. Because with a wound like that, it's got to be packed from the inside out. So he was in a great deal of pain, embarrassment, and the not knowing.
Oh dear.
And it caused an awful lot of depression.
Yeah, I bet. What? I could talk to you all morning about this, Pam, because I find it, honestly, I find it just incredible. We've only got a few minutes left. What have you? How have you pursued this? I'm assuming you got legal advice. Did that bring up anything?
We did. We had lots of advice from Power. Obviously, we first went to a patient and liaison office, who then put us on to Power, and we had an advocate, and then we went via a solicitor. But that's taken all this time, basically. Just waiting for replies to letters, replies for all sorts of things, only to be turned down, really.
Well, I've got let me read a statement from Bedford Hospital. We appreciate the pain Mr. Thompson sustained as a result of his injury. We are sorry for any distress this has caused. Following attempts to resolve the issue at a local level, subsequent involvement from both the NHS Litigation Authority and the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman has not led to any criticism of the Trust's approach to this incident. As a result, the Trust does not consider there's anything more it can do, and the matter has now been closed. How does that make you feel, Pam? It's closed.
Upset. Very upset. Because, it's caused pain, distress, obviously costs involved, backwards and forwards, and just everything, really.
What would you like to see happen, Pam?
Well, first of all, I'd be quite interested to see if this sort of thing has happened to anybody else. Because somebody did it to Keith. We're all very convinced of that. You don't do that to yourself. It's impossible. So somebody did it. So whether or not it's happened to anyone else, I don't know.
Pam, listen, I know Keith's not particularly good at hearing, but can I have a quick word with him?
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Hang on.
Not good at hearing. The phrase is hard of hearing, I believe.
Good morning.
Morning, Keith. This is Ian Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Keith, this story is incredible, and I'm so sorry for all the distress you've suffered. How has it affected you since leaving the hospital?
You wouldn't imagine how it has affected me. I haven't got over the depression and the stress even now after all this time. It's caused a lot of problems family-wise. It's virtually split my wife up 2 or 3 times because of the arguments and things we've had, because I haven't been able to let things drop. And I don't really know what to do, because I do feel that my wife does need a little bit of help as well on this, because she has done all the work right from the word go. She's done all the paperwork. We have all the dates, times, etc. And it's all in black and white, and we have it all in front of us. And I can't see why we would actually turn down for any sort of compensation.
Well, Keith, Bedford Hospital have told us that as far as they're concerned, the matter's now closed. How does that make you feel?
Absolutely terrible. I'm absolutely disgusted. And I don't see if you can get something signed from the hospital saying when I was admitted to the hospital I had no injuries, how they could say the matter's closed.
Keith, can I ask, are you seeing your doctor? Have you spoken to a counsellor or anyone to help you get through this tough time?
Well, because of the pain and things I'm still suffering now, I do visit a doctor fairly regular. But there's only so much they can do. I'm still taking pills even now, painkillers. In actual fact, I'm due to make an appointment today for the doctors again.
Would you consider going to see a counsellor or someone to just have a chat through all of this?
Yes, definitely.
Would you have a word with your doctor and ask if he could maybe arrange an appointment to see a counsellor? Because it does sound like you talking to someone else who perhaps isn't your wife might be quite helpful for you.
Yes, certainly. I'll gladly do that today if I can get to see my own doctor, which is not always possible.
No, it's not always possible. Keith, have a word with your doctor. If you feel that's the right thing for you to do, it might be helpful, and I'm sure they'll be able to help. Can I have a quick word with Pam again, Keith?
Yeah, certainly.
Thanks very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Oh, dear.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Keith.
Hello,
Pam. Listen,
Hi.
you're both obviously still suffering and in a lot of pain, and I just suggested that maybe Keith might find it helpful if he spoke to a counsellor or someone. I don't know if that's something he'd like. Did he do that?
He did. They had a trauma counsellor, but to be honest, he said it made him feel worse.
Really?
Yeah, well, it brings it all back, doesn't it?
Well, Pam, listen, I know that Keith's going to his doctor today or very soon. It might be worth just mentioning that he still feels anxious and depressed about it, and they might be able to point him in the direction of some help.
Yes.
Pam, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm really sorry. It's just an incredible story, and I'm sorry this is still dragging on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, OK, thank you.
Pam. There we go. Oh, dear, wasn't it? I could have spoken to them all morning. Fascinating and moving. It was Pam and Keith Thompson from Shefford, and if you missed the beginning of that, Keith was admitted to a Bedford hospital 3 years ago, and it was discovered he had a mysterious 3-inch deep wound in his back. 08459 455 555, a little bit later than normal. 7:16, let's get the travel with Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, I can see on my cameras that the traffic is starting to pick up on the roads. In Enfield, the A10 Great Cambridge Road, that's heavy between Bullsmore Lane to Southbury Road. It's also the usual morning rush hour queues forming in Bricketwood on the North Orbital Road, the A405 at the roundabout for the M25 junction 21A. That's also slow. No problems reported on the trains. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Morning, it's 7:17. It is Friday the 5th of April. I'm Ian Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A man is still looking for an explanation after ending up with a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back whilst at Bedford Hospital. Signs welcoming drivers to Milton Keynes have been labelled misleading after being placed 13 miles away from the city centre. In sport, the Chelsea interim manager feels they have a good chance of reaching the Europa League semi-finals after they beat Rubin Kazan 3-1 last night. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks: wintry showers across many areas, some bright or sunny intervals developing, although the cold breeze will continue. Maximum temperature is 8 degrees. Coming up, signs saying welcome to Milton Keynes have been placed in the surrounding villages as far away as 13 miles from the city centre. Well, one local resident is furious. We'll hear more reaction to this story before 7:30.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Weekends on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Treasure Quest, every Sunday morning from 9.
It is the biggest treasure hunt on the radio, searching for clues all around the three counties.
Treasure Quest.
We've got 5 locations, 6 clues in total, and once we've solved that 6th clue, then we go to our treasure.
Every Sunday morning from 9.
If we don't have the listeners, we don't have the treasure. People text in, people tweet us, people send us Facebook messages, people call in, and that is the most important thing, that they ring us and tell us the information they've got.
Treasure Quest, every Sunday morning from 9.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, now, if you've got a story you think we should be talking about, we want to hear from you. You can email me, ian.lee, IAIN.LEE at bbc.co.uk, and if we think it's something we can investigate, we will do. If it's not right for this show, we'll pass it on to one of the other shows, as I did yesterday. I sent some bits and pieces forward to Nick Coffer. Well, Norman Kitchener from Lavenden got in touch with us yesterday. He says signs saying welcome to Milton Keynes have been placed as far away as 13 miles from the city centre near Turvey in Bedfordshire. He says it's a waste of money to have signs in the surrounding areas.
When I was coming home the other week, I got to the boundary at Northampton. It says welcome to Milton Keynes. Then I drive through to Turvey, through Lavenden to Turvey. The road again is a disgrace, takes ages to get things done. And I get to Turvey and it says, thank you for visiting Milton Keynes. And when you come back, they're saying, what a total waste of money.
I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. When you saw, and it's miles from Milton Keynes, from the city centre.
12, 13 miles away.
When you saw these signs, did you think they'd been put there by mistake? What was your reaction?
Well, I just wonder what numpty on the council sort of allowed this to happen when we're trying to save money and need money to spend money on the roads.
Now, I'm guessing from what you're saying that you would rather that the money that had been spent on these signs had been spent on something like fixing potholes or making the roads a bit better.
Yeah, it does. The roads are a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
Well, we sent our reporter Jessica Cooper to have a look at the signs.
Turvey is a typical Bedfordshire village. It's got a pub, shops, and it's surrounded by green fields. Now, just outside the village, signs have gone up saying, welcome to Milton Keynes. The next village, Coalbrayfield, does actually fall in the borough of Milton Keynes, but the town centre and where the shops are is still miles away. What do you think of the new signs?
Well, they look really posh, but I mean, I can't understand why it's here when we're so far from Milton Keynes itself. As we're coming into Turvey, it seems weird that the sign's there.
And you've just driven from Northampton to Turvey.
I've just actually come from Northampton and not from Milton Keynes, but it said thanks for visiting Milton Keynes, which is a bit strange.
So for people that don't know the area then and don't know if they're in Milton Keynes or not, what do you think about those signs?
It was a bit misleading, isn't it, really? As if we've all just come from Milton Keynes when we haven't really, have we? A lot of us. I mean, it's just strange to see the sign there. Such a big sign as well, which must have cost quite a bit of money.
I think they're too modern. They're not in keeping with the area. It doesn't bother me what they say, really, but technically, for me, that sign should say Buckinghamshire and not Milton Keynes.
And for people coming to the area who maybe don't know it very well and they drive through that, do you think that it seems like they've arrived in Milton Keynes?
That would be confusing, really. I suppose Milton Keynes must be 12 miles away, 10, 12 miles away for people coming to Milton Keynes, and it's not Milton Keynes, really.
Do we need to clutter up the countryside with more signs? Where if people know where Milton Keynes is, it's irrelevant, really. And they're so far away from Milton Keynes. You might as well be saying welcome to Northampton or Birmingham so no, I don't see any point in having them.
I suppose the person who put them up might argue that actually it's publicising that you're in Milton Keynes Borough and you're getting it towards the direction of Milton Keynes. Do you kind of see that point?
No, why don't they say welcome to the borough of Milton Keynes, or you are X number of miles from Milton Keynes?
I'm just getting in the car. I'm going to drive from Turvey, from the new signs which say welcome to Milton Keynes, and I'm going to drive to what I call Milton Keynes, which is where the shops are, to see how long it takes. So 20 minutes and 13 and a half miles after I passed those welcome to Milton Keynes signs just outside of Turvey, I have arrived in central Milton Keynes at the shopping centre. And on the way here, incidentally, I passed another sign which said Milton Keynes Borough and New City, but that came 10 miles after Turvey. So it seems when you pass the new signs outside of Turvey saying welcome to Milton Keynes, you're actually being welcomed to the borough of Milton Keynes, and you definitely aren't that close to Milton Keynes itself.
That was Jessica Cooper looking at signs. Well, Councillor John Bint is from Milton Keynes Council. He's in charge of transport and highways. John, why are these signs so far from Milton Keynes?
These signs are on the boundary of Milton Keynes, which is a borough and a county, and it's traditional to have signs welcoming motorists and road users as they come in through the boundary of a local authority.
It's traditional to have the word borough on, though, isn't it? If it's the borough that you're celebrating in the sign.
There are lots of variations around the country. Some people say welcome to the borough, welcome to the county.
These say neither.
Both. That's right, and there are others where the name is sufficiently obvious that it is obvious what it is. In Milton Keynes, we debated about whether it should say the borough or the county, and we decided that actually Milton Keynes is a place.
It's a bit misleading, though, isn't it, John? It could be perceived as being a little bit misleading, because I think the majority of people, the people we've spoken to anyway, view Milton Keynes as the new city, in inverted commas, the town, and that to have it 13 miles away from the town is it seems a waste of money.
No, I don't think it's a waste of money at all. I think, as I say, it's traditional to welcome people when you come into the borough or the county area to know the place that you have arrived at.
But people
you are a long way from the city, but you are within Milton Keynes, the place.
How much do the signs cost?
We're incredibly proud of. They cost slightly under £1,000 each, and if you work on the lifespan of the previous ones, that works out as under 15 pence per sign per day.
How many signs have you put up?
About 16 of them on the principal roads into Milton Keynes.
£16,000 worth of signs, 13 miles away from the city centre. There are people, including callers to this show, who think that in times of austerity, having up a sign that could be perceived as misleading is a complete waste of money.
No, this isn't. This is welcoming people to Milton Keynes. Every other authority does the same thing. At all those points where people have said, well, why are we welcoming people to Milton Keynes? If you face the other way on the road, you will find that there is a similar sign describing the fact that that's the boundary of Northamptonshire or Buckinghamshire or whatever. So it's entirely appropriate, very traditional, and I think 15p per sign per day can't be accused of being inappropriate
John,
use of money.
What would you say to the people who've been in touch with us, including Norman Kitchener from Lavenden, who say it is a waste of money? What would you say to Norman?
Signs have existed at the boundary of places for ages and ages and ages. These have been replaced. They are more modern. They are in keeping with the information that we provide on signage elsewhere in the area. And if people didn't know that they'd come into Milton Keynes at that point, well, hey, the sign has served a useful purpose, drawing this to their attention. We are incredibly proud of our rural areas of Milton Keynes. People are entitled to know when they've come into Milton Keynes, the place. I accept the fact that Milton Keynes, the place, spreads all those miles away from Milton Keynes, the shopping centre. But there is more to Milton Keynes than the shopping centre. There is the whole of those rural areas. People are coming into it. They're entitled to know, be proud of our rural areas.
Do you think people on the boundary in places like Turvey want to associate themselves with Milton Keynes?
I think they expect to get services from Milton Keynes. I think lots of them get jobs in Milton Keynes. I think that they get the benefit of the prosperity that Milton Keynes
So they have to put up with the signs.
I don't think it's a case of putting up. I think it's If they look on their birth certificates, if they were born in the last 10 years, it will say they were born in Milton Keynes. I think we should be proud of our rural areas.
We've not. I must say, we've not had anybody under the age of 10 complaining. So your point is taken. The one thing I've noticed, John, is there's a gap at the bottom of the sign. What's that for? Are you going to add more information?
There's a facility there for putting up a secondary message. So, for instance, lots of occasions there are winners of Britain in Bloom, or home to Red Bull Racing, or the MK Dons, or whatever else may be appropriate on a from time to time basis.
How much do those extra signs cost to put up about the Britain in Bloom and things like that?
We try to have those based on a budget if and when the occasion demands. But the fact that the metal is effectively up there and simply a secondary message can be put on at much lower cost than if that space hadn't been installed.
And one final question, John. You've been very patient. I appreciate it. One bugbear of mine is the when people don't bother to press the shift key. Why haven't you got capital letters for Milton Keynes? It looks awful. Use capital letters. It's a place name, John.
I understand the concept of capital letters, and that would have had my vote as well. However, the modern style without capital letters is part of a branding style that has been developed as part of a theme that's called the Amazing Milton Keynes imagery and type fonts and logos and all the rest of it. It wouldn't have been my choice, but it is the choice, and we are being consistent with it. So it's consistent with other signage that other people will be using in other parts of the borough.
John, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. That's Councillor John Bint from Milton Keynes Council. He's in charge of Transport and Highways. He puts up a pretty good argument, I think. What do you think? Have a look at the signs on our Facebook page. OK, facebook.com/BBC3CR. £1,000 each. John claims it works out, if they sustain as long as the last signs, 15 pence a day. There's 16 of them. £16,000. Is it a good use of money, or is it misleading? Facebook.com/BBC3CR, or give me a call, 08459 455 555. Here's the travel news now, Brooke Burford.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you and good morning. Traffic builds up for rush hour and I'm starting to see more congestion on the roads in the usual hotspots. It's busy in Bricket Wood on the A405 North Orbital Road at the roundabout for the M25. Once on the M25, there is a speed restriction of 50 miles an hour and narrow lanes between the roadworks at junction 23 for South Mims to 25 for Enfield. And in Enfield, the A10 Great Cambridge Road, that's heavy between Bullsmore Lane heading into town to Southbury Road. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thanks very much. It's 7:30, News and Sport now. Here's Serena.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. A man still wants answers 3 years after he discovered a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back at Bedford Hospital. Signs welcoming drivers, as we've just been hearing, to Milton Keynes have been labelled misleading. It's after being placed 13 miles away from the city centre. Children's heart surgery will now resume at Leeds General Infirmary. Operations were temporarily stopped after NHS figures suggested death rates there were twice the national average. And many people in Luton, who BBC Three Counties have been speaking to, say they can't afford to run their cars because of the rising costs in fuel. Official figures show forecourt sales of petrol have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. That's the news. Now let's move on to the sport.
Beds, Herts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Sir Gareth Bale left the pitch on a stretcher after going over on his ankle in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Basel in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final last night. Meanwhile, other sides who were in action, Chelsea put themselves in a good position to reach the last four after they beat Rubin Kazan 3-1. And Newcastle, though, are facing elimination after they lost 3-1 at Benfica. So locally, in tomorrow's football, Watford are set to be without centre-half Fitzhall for the 5:20 kick-off at home to Championship leaders Cardiff. He was injured in Tuesday's win at Hull, so Lloyd Doyley is set to deputise. In League One, MK Dons will check on defender Adam Chickson ahead of the home game with Crawley. Meantime, Stevenage go to Portsmouth. And in League Two, Wycombe make the short trip up the M40 to Oxford. Finally, in the conference, Luton make the long trip to Carlisle to face Gateshead. But this time, manager John Stills putting assistant Terry Harris in charge.
This is now the time I need to look at one or two players, as does Terry, not both together. Either one of us will probably not do the same games together between now and the end of the season. You know, we now have to make some decisions on players that we've been watching, so Saturday will be one of them.
You won't be there on Saturday?
I won't be there on Saturday.
Turning to rugby then, and Saracens named their side today for tomorrow's Heineken Cup quarter-final against Ulster at Twickenham. England fly half Owen Farrell set to return for the half.
These are the type of occasions you play rugby for. You know, quarter-final of the Heineken Cup, you don't get much bigger playing Ulster at Twickenham. And yeah, we're preparing well for it this week and looking forward to it.
Also tomorrow, Bedford host Llanelli in the quarter-finals of the British and Irish Cup, and tonight Wasps host Irish side Leinster at Wycombe's Adams Park in the last 8 of the European Challenge Cup. BBC Three Counties Radio, more from me at 8.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Ian Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. What effect is the high cost of fuel having on you? Maybe you're doing what I'm doing, driving more slowly, or using public transport more. Well, we'll speak to our petrol correspondent Justin Dealey in a few minutes. Now, how much do you remember about your dreams? Using brain scans, researchers in Japan have been able to predict the visual images that people see as they sleep. What was that film where you could do that? Oh, there was a film, wasn't there, where they Videodrome. Was it Videodrome? May have been. Anyway, it's the first step towards being able to read dreams and help those who suffer nightmares. I'll be speaking to a neuroscientist to find out more about what they've been doing. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably a bit more conscious of how much petrol you're using. Maybe you're driving more slowly, as I generally do, apart from the time I got busted and now have to go to a speed awareness course later on today. Or perhaps you're using public transport more. Forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. Our fuel correspondent Justin Dealey has been finding out what impact the high cost of petrol is having on you. Now, Justin, you drive like a lunatic, don't you? So you must have really huge...
Hang on. Who's been caught speeding recently?
Yes,
you or me?
Who's not been caught speeding, I think, is more the appropriate question, Justin. Yes, I am going on a speed awareness course this afternoon. I'm looking forward to doing my bit for Queen and Country.
Yes, I'm sure you are. Me driving like a lunatic, outrageous. But in the first hour, we heard how people are definitely cutting back because of the price of petrol. Some people now, they don't see their family as much because of that cost. I've been getting some more views in the last 30 minutes or so, and this is what happened.
Now, Pat, very sadly, you don't see your two sons as much now because of the price of fuel. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I think in this day and age, budgets are squeezed and the price of fuel has gone through the roof, and they really have to think about, doing extra journeys or doing frequent journeys. So, yeah, they think twice about coming so regularly because they just can't afford to do it.
Well, it's very, very sad because clearly you must miss your two sons.
Well, it does have an effect on the family, and I do miss seeing them quite so regularly. And it's sad, but I'm sure there's lots of families in the same position. They're all having to rethink what they do in order to save some pennies and just survive, really, in this tough climate.
Sir, you're a bus driver. Have you noticed more and more people saying to you, I'm now catching the bus because I can't afford to run my car anymore?
Well, the price of petrol and diesel is per gallon now. A lot of people are catching the bus because it's cheaper for them, more economical to catch the bus now. And with the bus service, it's reasonably reliable now, the way things are going. There's a lot more people catching the bus.
You've definitely noticed that increase, and people even saying to you, I've given up my car because I can't afford it.
Oh, a lot of people are giving up their car. A lot of people said they're giving up their car because it's with insurance, road tax and fuel, it is cheaper now to catch the bus.
And a word here with Richard. Richard, you gave up your car 10 years ago because of the price of petrol. So if you were driving now, how do you think you might feel with the prices we're currently seeing?
Well, I think it would encourage me to get out of my car and get on the bus because it's so much cheaper. If you take into account insurance and the cost of running a car, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Now, Carmen, you actually gave up your car last September because of the prices. You just couldn't take it anymore.
No, I can't. Not the wages that I'm earning. The wear and tear of the car, it costs a lot of money, the tax and everything. The petrol's going up extremely. I might as well just get a bus or a train.
So it's cheaper for you to do that rather than run your car?
In the long run, it's cheaper going by train.
Well, I've heard all sorts of stories this morning about how the price of petrol is affecting people. Do you think something now really has got to be done? It's come down a bit recently, but something's got to be done because it's really affecting people's lives now.
Well, when I think it takes me 3 hours to get to work in the morning, yes, if the petrol was a little bit cheaper, then I would use the car.
I'm assuming, Justin, that no one said, oh, petrol's fine. Oh, no, it's fine.
No, not one person at all. I mean, it's quite interesting. I've been in Luton for, about an hour and a half now. I've spoken to 3 people who don't see their children as much because of the price of fuel. Going back a couple of years ago, they may have made that journey, twice a week. Now it's probably once every 2 weeks. So people aren't seeing their family as much because of the price of petrol. And you're right, Ian, not one person has said to me, the price of fuel, it's great. You're not going to find that anywhere, I'm afraid.
Justin Dealey, thank you very much indeed. Well, Peter Carroll is from the Fair Fuel UK campaign. Morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Why are forecourt sales down? Is it simply the price of petrol?
Well, I think it's partly the price of petrol that's driving down the sales because people can't afford it. And it's also the fact that we're going through a terrible economic recession. And one of our main arguments to the government is that part of the reason we're in recession is because people literally can't move around enough. So the high cost of petrol and diesel is actually carrying on or helping to perpetuate the recession, which we need to end. That's why the Chancellor should cut the tax on petrol and diesel to get the economy going.
He's never going to do that, though, is he?
Well, I think he is, because if you go back only 2 years to his first budget in April 2011, he was facing a 5p a litre increase that he'd inherited from the previous government. He scrapped that rise, and he did actually cut by 1p. Now, 1p is a tiny amount, but it proves that when he's got the will to do it, he can do it. And we've done research, presented it to the Treasury, which proves if you cut fuel duty, you stimulate the economy, and that you get the money back you think you've lost on the fuel duty because you can get tax then on the economic growth.
And what do they say when you go up to the Treasury and go, look, we've got this evidence, if you cut fuel duty, you'll sell more petrol and make more money? What do they say?
Well, it's very interesting. About 6 months ago, we had a meeting with the Chief Secretary to the Treasury. That's number 2, Danny Alexander. He's number 2 to George Osborne. And 3 of his most senior officials lasted an hour. And they listened to our research, they've taken it, and it's taken months to get a formal response. But I understand there's a letter on my desk at home, which is going to say they're going to ask us back in to go through the evidence again. So I think the door is open, and we're not going to give in. The one good thing we've achieved over the last 2 years as Fair Fuel UK is that every single proposed rise in fuel duty has either been scrapped or postponed, and that adds up, are you ready for this, to 13p a litre's worth.
Wow.
That's how much they were going to put it up by.
See,
that's all been done, Ian, because of people like the motorists and business people you were just talking to getting on board with us, so we got a massive voice, a very powerful voice in Parliament.
It is incredibly. Listen, I'm doing all right. I'm not earning TV money like I used to. But I'm doing all right. I'm having to rethink about how I use my car and when I use my car. It is hitting everybody, isn't it?
Yes, we do surveys on our fairfueluk.com website. The last one we did, 30,000 people responded. And if you look at everybody, people in work, pensioners, young people, disabled people, business people, private motorists, they're all saying our life is being ground down because we can't afford to move. If we think about it, Ian, it's probably about, £85 to fill up a typical family car? If someone's earning 400 quid a week, how on earth are they going to make that work for them?
Yeah, I wince every time I fill up. Why have we not seen any of the protests that we saw... Well, it's quite a few years ago now, when there was no petrol and there were blockades and slow drives. Why is that not happening?
Well, that was back in 2000. I remember it well. At that time,
was it 2000? Wow. Yes.
Yeah, I was a road haulage operator with about 15 lorries, and we actually ran out of fuel. There's 2 reasons why it's not happening. The first reason is that the government is very organised now. It was caught on the hop in 2000 when the farmers and a few road hauliers blockaded or threatened to blockade refineries. That actually stopped the flow of fuel. Now there's pipelines out of those refineries to different places across the country. There's huge buffer stocks. So the government's kind of prepared for it. And second, the government and the agencies that it has, the people who license road hauliers, are all saying, if you do that, we might not renew your certificate to operate. So there's a little bit of... not heavy-handed, but a bit of, influencing people. But I think, Ian, the last reason, I think, is if we got to that point, the people who'd suffer the most are the people who need the fuel the most, and it would actually cause a lot of suffering. The right way to do this, as we've proved with Fair Fuel UK, is get into Parliament, get into the Treasury, and give them the evidence and the massive public opinion to say, come on, cut it for growth, because you won't suffer and the economy will revive.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. Peter Carroll from Fair Fuel UK. Well, have you changed your driving habits because of the price of petrol? I know I have. 08459 455 555. There is a vague car theme this morning. Yes, I'll be honest. I got busted speeding, and rightfully so. I was sent a letter. Luckily, on that letter, it gave me the option to go to a speed awareness course, which I'm going to be doing later on this afternoon, although I'm very nervous. Trevor's in Radlett. Trevor, have you been on one of these speed awareness courses?
Morning. Yeah, I have, yeah.
What was it like? I'm quite nervous about it.
It was okay. It depends where you go, who's doing it, but you will meet some colourful characters there.
Ooh.
It was, I was amazed at the amount of times people have been caught speeding that were there. And you're like, how are you still driving? They're bad habits.
What kind of... Were they naughty people? What do you mean characters?
Well, no, there are some quite colourful characters. There was one woman there quite hippie-ish, and I think she'd been stopped. I think she'd been done for speeding about 14 times.
Wow.
And I go, how do you still got a licence, and how have you managed to get on this course after being stopped that many times? And she was so blazing about it. And the thing is, she was caught with the same camera every time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. What speed were you doing, Trevor, to get your course?
34.
Ooh, 34!
Yeah.
In a 30, I'm hoping, not in a 20. Yes.
Yeah, I was fully loaded coming down a hill, and just let the brake off a bit and just run over.
And I'm guessing that everybody is there, not because they want to better themselves or improve their driving, it's because they want to dodge the 3 points, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. But do they do sandwiches there? Is there a canteen?
No, but there was. Ours was done at a hotel, so there was quite nice coffee laid on. So that was quite handy.
Oh, I shall have a bit of that. Thank you, Trevor. It's cost me £90 this course. There better be something there. There better be snacks. Thank you, Trevor. 08459 455 555. He makes it sound like it's going to be quite good fun there. Might have a bit of a laugh. I don't really want to talk to people. I don't want to talk to characters. I do that for a living. The thought of talking to characters in my free time when I'm not being paid, oh, no. No, thank you. If I'm not wearing headphones and doing it into a microphone, I'm not interested, really. 08459 455 555. Here's the travel news now with Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, the worst of the congestion this morning is in Bricketwood, with heavy traffic on the North Orbital Road at the roundabout for the M25. It's also slow on my cameras on the same road heading north at the Park Street roundabout. And traffic is just about moving in Enfield on the A10 Great Cambridge Road. That's heavy between Balsmore Lane heading into town all the way to Southbury Road. I've checked the trains and no reports of any problems. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Morning, it's 7:45. It's Friday, the 5th of April. I'm Ian Lee, and these are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. A man receiving treatment at Bedford Hospital doesn't know how he ended up with a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back. He's still looking for an explanation 3 years on. Some people living in Turvey say the new signs which welcome drivers to Milton Keynes are misleading because they're just outside the village. In sport, there were wins for Tottenham and Chelsea in the Europa League last night, but Newcastle lost 3-1. Coming up, how much do you remember about your dreams? Using brain scans, researchers in Japan have been able to predict the visual images that people see as they sleep. We'll find out more about it before 8 o'clock, but before that, let's get the weather with Elizabeth Rossini.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Well, it's going to be quite a cloudy morning. We may just see the odd light wintry flurry in places, still feeling cold in that northeasterly wind, and we'll be keeping that for the rest of the day today, but not too much longer after that. That's the good news. Now, I think it should be a drier afternoon. Certainly many places will stay dry for the rest of the day. I think we're most likely to see those wintry flurries this morning over parts of Hertfordshire than anywhere else, really. But then into the afternoon, drier just about everywhere, and also turning a bit brighter as well from the north. So places like Bedford, Milton Keynes, well placed to get a bit of brightness and sunshine a bit later on. And also temperatures where we do get the brightness and sunshine creeping up slowly to 7 degrees Celsius, 45 in Fahrenheit. I tell you what though, with the wind chill, it's not going to feel like that, but there is some good news on the way. Into this evening and overnight, it is going to feel really quite cold. Now we'll see the northeasterly wind finally take off and move somewhere else because the winds are going to fall much lighter tonight. It's going to allow for a widespread frost into tomorrow morning, and we'll see lots of clear spells as well. So lows of -2 degrees Celsius. So a bit of a nippy start to the day tomorrow, but it should be quite a nice day. Also Sunday, we'll see some sunny spells around, decent spells of sunshine, particularly through the morning. Lots of brightness around, just a bit more cloud developing into the afternoons, but for once we haven't got that northeasterly wind, so it's actually going to feel as if it is sort of 9-10 degrees Celsius. Yes, we might even scrape double figures tomorrow and on Sunday, which would certainly be good news. So it's going to start to feel more spring-like at the weekend. Unfortunately, into next week it will turn quite wet and windy at times. It's likely to feel colder as well. That's the forecast.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Tackling your consumer problems.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
My son took it back to the garage. The mechanic says, yeah, I know what it is. So they took it in, done what they had to do, and the car was still the same, still doing the same thing.
The JVS Show.
Fighting for your rights.
The long and short of it is, he agreed that he would replace the car.
If you have a consumer problem,
we can do the same for you.
I'd like to thank you and your team for everything you've done. We wouldn't have got where we got without you.
It's a pleasure. I'm going to call that a result. Any other problems, you know where I am, Stuart.
The JVS Show.
Fighting for your rights.
Weekday mornings from 9 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Going on a speed awareness course today. I've been naughty and I've been caught, and rightfully so, I'm being punished. I'm a little bit worried about it though. Richard's in Winslow. Good morning, Richard.
Yeah, well, morning, Ian. Good luck to you today anyway. I hope you're going to tell us all about it next week. I did one about 6 years ago, and we were all assembled in the room beforehand, like naughty schoolboys about to do detention, sniggering and smirking. But when we went in there, the guy made it pretty clear that we were there expected to take it seriously. If we didn't and show a change of attitude, then it is possible that they could come after us and do us for the 3 points. And at the end, you fill out a questionnaire about things you've learned, and then you say, will you change your behaviour? And I must admit, it did make me change my behaviour, because I went out and I got a speed thing and stuck it on the dashboard.
You did what?
Yeah, one of those things, radar things, that tell you where the speed cameras come up.
Oh, so you got one of those dashboard angels, whatever they're called, that beeps every time a speed camera comes up?
Really good ones. That one even burbles when the copper jumps out with a handheld job.
So hang on a minute. You went on this speed awareness course, Richard, to learn to be a better driver, and all it did was teach you to
learn to be a better driver, because that's not what it's about. The course is there to bang you over the head with the same old cudgel about speed. I mean, I'm surprised they don't go back to insisting you have a man in front of the car with a red flag like they used to do.
So you still speed?
No, I have a much quieter lifestyle now, and I drive a more sedate old car. I was working at the time.
Yes.
But it's all about speeding, but that's not what causes trouble on the road. So-called accidents occur because people do not pay attention to what they're doing. I mean, you don't see someone in front of you thinking, oh, there's a target, I'll speed up to 40 and bang them. No, I'll slow down to 30, it won't hurt them so much.
I don't think I should be talking to you before I go on this course. You're planting seeds of naughtiness in my head.
No, don't be naughty on it, whatever you do. Pretend to take it seriously. But do let us all know on Monday or whenever it is.
Hang on a minute.
Tom.
I've just worked out who you are. Richard, haven't I banned you from calling in?
No, you like me.
Yeah, he's going to... I banned him. How did he sneak through the system? For goodness sakes. Ollie, pay more attention. Can we not flag up his number? I thought I recognised that voice. That's the fella that I ban seemingly every week. We'll have to tighten our security on this. Trust me. Now, Ellie from Luton has texted him. I went on a speed awareness course in Luton last week. It does what it says on the tin. It's an awareness course. Very informative and interactive, and at times humorous. Oh, we haven't... This is why I don't have a proper job. We haven't got to do that thing where we have to do, like, role play, have we? Is there going to be role play? Are they going to get, like, two of us up to do a role play where one of us is driving a car and one of us is a police officer? Oh, no. You're not treated like naughty speed demons, quite the opposite, in fact. The 4 hours went very quick, but take a drink with you. The hotel I went to is charging a wicked £2.90 for a small paper cup of coffee. Ellie from Luton, thank you very much. Indeed. And yes, I will be banging on about this on Monday, don't you worry. On the subject of has the increase in fuel costs change your driving. Keith says, I need my car for work. It's 100 miles a round trip a day. But the company pays me 49 pence a mile to travel to work. When I'm off, I try to use buses and my travel perks on the trains to visit relations and going on holiday. I have to drive to and from work because the time I'm coming in, silly o'clock, can't get public transport. So I'm driving in. And it is a fortune. And I wince every time I fill up my car. It does hurt. And listen, as I said, I'm doing all right, OK? I'm doing all right, thank you very much indeed. But everybody is struggling, aren't they? How is it affecting you? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Are you changing your driving habits? The report from Justin earlier on was incredible. He was speaking to people who are seeing their family less because they can't afford the petrol anymore. I know for a fact, in fact, thinking on this, my sister had to plan when she was going to go and visit my mum. They couldn't afford to fill the car with petrol. So they couldn't go and visit my mum one weekend. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call on that. And also, the other thing that you're getting quite angry about on Facebook, and we do like it when you get angry on Facebook. Play nice. Don't be, no nastiness. No swears. Don't be rude. But at the Facebook page, people are getting very upset about these Milton Keynes signs that have been placed 13 miles away from Milton Keynes town centre. Got in trouble for calling it a new city the other day. We've spoke to a councillor. It's because it's the borough. But Darren says, truly awful and in the wrong place. Could this be a sign of Milton Keynes' intention to swallow up all the surrounding villages? Lynn says, people need to be aware Milton Keynes is a county and this sign should have mentioned it. We need to advertise and be recognised as a county. And Val says, I think they have omitted to say 13 miles from the city centre. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Have a little look. What do you think? £1,000 a sign, 16 signs, 16 grand. Could it have been spent better? Now, dreams. I love dreams. I love it. I love having dreams. I don't like hearing anybody else's dreams. Other people's dreams are always very boring, which is why we're not doing the phone in with your dreams story. Using brain scans, researchers in Japan have been able to predict the visual images that people see as they sleep, the first step towards being able to read dreams and help those who suffer nightmares. The study is published in the journal Science. Well, Mark Stokes, Mark Stokes, how rude, is a cognitive neuroscientist based at the Oxford Centre for Human Brain Activity. I do apologise, Mark, I'm changing your gender there for the purpose of this. What more can you tell us about this study?
So basically, this study conducted in Japan was looking at the kinds of visual representations associated with dreaming states. So they used fMRI or magnetic resonance imaging to measure changes in brain activity during sleep and match those to patterns of brain activity associated with actually seeing the kinds of visual scenes associated with those dreams, and then trying to match those two different states up.
So in my head, Mark, I've kind of got a Videodrome image in my head where Japanese scientists can basically, they've connected a television to someone's head. It's not quite like that then?
No, not quite, no.
So if I'm dreaming of, for example, a house or, I don't know, a nudie lady, would they be able to, can they interpret my mental electronic pulses into those images? How much can they see?
So this is the idea, but I mean, it's still at a very sort of preliminary stage, very coarse level analysis. I mean, basically, what they have to do first is they have to understand the patterns of brain activity in each individual. So everyone's brain is different, and there are some systematic things across subjects and so on. But when you get to the really fine level kinds of discriminations, it will be idiosyncratic within subject. So you have to then really understand the patterns of brain activity associated with each particular state.
Right.
And so you have to do some extensive analysis first to work that out, and then go back and look at the dreams and then try to work out which state was active and what's the probability.
How significant is this development, Mark?
Well, I think it is a significant development in terms of just understanding better how the brain generates internal representations. I think the key to this research is trying to get at these kinds of subjective states that are internally generated. They're not generated by external stimuli, stuff coming through the eyes and so on. People are asleep. They're just creating these images themselves, understanding how what kind of representational structure is associated with those kinds of subjective states, and you can compare them directly to what happens during the waking state when people are actually seeing these things properly.
And is the theory that at some point in the future, then, that the scientists could possibly help people who suffer from bad nightmares?
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure the direct link of that. I mean, I think that would be some way down the track. I think at this stage it's really more about understanding how the brain really internally generates these kinds of representations, and it has more closely direct applications for things like understanding how long-term memories are encoded and so on, which is thought to happen during dreams and during when you reactivate experiences from the past.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. There's Mark Stokes, cognitive neuroscientist based at the Oxford Centre for Human Brain Activity. So it isn't the Videodrome. In fact, Videodrome was where they put a VHS cassette in a gentleman's stomach, I think. But they're not going to be see the murky things that go on in my mind at night. Good. That's a relief. I do love a good dream. I'm a very vivid dreamer. I had an amazing... I was half awake last night, but asleep, and I looked out of my window and I saw a fantastic golden arch. I know. See, now I did. There's a golden arch outside my house. Now, that's interesting to me, but to you, boring. And that's the thing, isn't it? When people come in, Kelly Betts, who often works on this show, comes in and goes, I had an amazing dream last night, and then will proceed to tell us the dream in great detail. I tell you now, other people's dreams are really boring. However fantastical they are to that person, when you hear another person's dream, you're like, yeah, I know, it's a dream. Yeah, so what? So what, you met Richard Nixon on a magic carpet while smoking a hookah pipe? It means nothing to other people. So please do not call in and tell me your dreams. I'm simply not interested. Call in about the other stuff. Keen to get your thoughts on that. Just dreams? No. Here's the travel with Brooke.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A1 Great North Road is starting to pick up towards Sandy at the Black Cat roundabout. There's also traffic is struggling on the North Orbalton Road in Bricketwood at the roundabout for the M25. Traffic is moving slowly in Enfield. The A10 Great Cambridge Road is busy between Bullsmore Lane heading into town to Southbury Road, and the M1 has one lane closed southbound between Junction 2 at the Five Ways Corner to Junction 1 at Staples Corner because of a breakdown. But I've looked at my cameras and traffic is coping well around that at the moment. On the trains, there are 15-minute delays now on East Coast trains through Stevenage and First Capital Connect trains through Letchworth Garden City because of a signalling problem. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much indeed. Coming up in the next hour of the show, more on these signs, these Milton Keynes signs that are 13 miles away from the town. They're being billed as, well, they're in the borough. That's good enough, isn't it? And also, if you missed the last hour, the incredible story of the gentleman who went to hospital, Bedford Hospital, 3 years ago for his epilepsy. He woke up, he had a 3-inch stab wound in him. No one knows where it came from. All that and more after the news with Serena.
Getting beds, Herts and Bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines. Bedford man gets mysterious wound whilst in hospital. Residents say they don't want signs in their village, and petrol sales drop.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A man still wants answers 3 years after he discovered a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back whilst at Bedford Hospital. The hospital acknowledges it happened in A&E after Keith Thompson from Shefford was admitted for complications to his epilepsy, but he's since suffered.
I haven't got over the depression and the stress even now after all this time. It's caused a lot of problems family-wise. Virtually split my wife up 2 or 3 times because of the arguments and things we've had, because I haven't been able to let things drop.
Well, in a statement, Bedford Hospital apologises for the distress caused. It says a thorough investigation proved inconclusive. As a result, the Trust doesn't consider it can do anything more, and the matter's now closed. Turning to other news, and some people living in Turvey say new signs just outside the village which welcome drivers to Milton Keynes are misleading. The signs on the A428, which mark the Milton Keynes borough boundary, are 13 miles away from the new city. Robert Chapman lives there.
I think they're too modern. They're not in keeping with the area. I suppose Milton Keynes must be, 12 miles away, 10, 12 miles away, for people coming to Milton Keynes, and it's not Milton Keynes, really.
Conservative councillor John Bint is from the council, who's in charge of transport and highways there. He explains why they've been put up.
These signs are on the boundary of Milton Keynes, which is a borough and a county, and it's traditional to have signs welcoming motorists and road users as they come in through the boundary of a local authority.
Now, many people in Luton who BBC Three Counties Radio have been speaking to say they simply can't afford to run their cars because of the rising costs in fuel. A figure show forecourt sales of petrol have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years alone. It's had a knock-on effect on Pat, who now doesn't really see her two sons.
In this day and age, budgets are squeezed and they really have to think about doing extra journeys or doing frequent journeys. So, yeah, they think twice about coming so regularly because they just can't afford to do it. Well, it does have an effect on the family, and it's sad.
Children's heart surgery is to resume at Leeds General Infirmary after days of uncertainty about its future. The NHS says services will restart once assurances have been given that they're safe. And scientists in Japan have done it again. This time they've found a way to read dreams. Researchers used MRI scans to note different patterns of brain activity as people slept. They were able to work out what they were seeing and were even 60% right most of the time. Sport then, and Tottenham drew 2-2 with FC Barcelona in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final last night. Meanwhile, it was victory for Chelsea, but Newcastle lost 3-1. And we're going to see more of those wintry showers on the way, but brighter and sunnier come the afternoon. Temperatures reaching 8 degrees Celsius, a little bit warmer than yesterday then. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/Three Counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
Good morning. Suddenly it's just gone 8 o'clock, 3 minutes past 8 to be precise, on a Friday. Wonderful. The weekend, the freaking weekend, baby. I'm about to have me some fun. Who was that? Was that Neil Sedaka? John Denver? No, it was R. Kelly. Of course it was. This is Ian Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots coming up in the last hour of the show before JVS at 9, including just this incredible story that has fascinated me all morning. Imagine you went into hospital to be treated for complications to epilepsy, only to receive a 3-inch deep wound to your lower back. Well, that's exactly what happened to a Shefford man. I'll be speaking to a clinical negligence lawyer to see if there's anything they could have done. Also, have you seen the new signs which say "Welcome to Milton Keynes"? Some of them have been placed 13 miles from the city centre. Lavender man Norman Kitchener is furious about it. Well, there's 16 of them, £1,000 each, 16 grand. Do you think they're misleading? Have a look at our Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. And it's Friday, music time. Rockabilly country? Yes, please. The Zip Heads will be in before 9 o'clock. If you want to get in touch, you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR, or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A man is still seeking answers 3 years on after receiving a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back at Bedford Hospital. The hospital acknowledged it happened in A&E after Keith Thompson from Shefford was admitted for complications to his epilepsy. He's since suffered from depression and the agony of not knowing what happened to him. Our reporter Tony Fisher has been speaking to Keith and his wife Pam.
He has epilepsy, and after so many seizures I have to call an ambulance so they can control it, really. But once he's like that, he's just sleeping. But they can monitor him while he's in there. Mm-hmm. And he gets taken into A&E. I got a phone call on the Saturday morning to say they were taking him down to theatre. And I said, why is he going down to theatre? And they said, we found a large hole. We don't know why, what's caused it.
A large hole?
A large hole, yeah.
Where?
Well, what they said was internal. And I thought, how do you know there's an internal hole? So anyway, what they actually said to me, oh, it could be a life or death situation. Oh, yeah. And I thought, what? So immediately I phoned Keith's sister.
He'd only gone in to monitor his seizures.
Yes, yeah. It wasn't till the Sunday night. Keith was on the ward and we found, I don't know if she was a matron or what, we said, well, what's actually happened? And she said, well, he's actually received a 10 centimetre wound to the kind of at the bottom of his spine, at the top of his buttock. And it wasn't a scratch that went that way, it went inwards. So 10
centimetres inside him?
In went, yeah, 10 centimetres. Which
well,
I
as
think,
if someone had plunged a knife into him?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's about 3.5 inches, I think.
So it must have been a sharp object.
Oh, yeah, yes. Basically, we got told all conflicting stories.
And you were told that he was wandering down the corridor with blood dripping behind him?
One nurse said that 1 minute he was okay, the next minute they turned around and the bed was full of blood. Another one said they saw him walking down the corridor with a trail of blood. And another one said he climbed over the cot rails and impaled himself on a drip stand. And we also...
And Keith, you don't know what you did. You can't remember.
I've got no idea. It's totally blank.
I think that's what dragged him down a lot, the fact of not knowing what somebody did to you. The police, obviously, they investigated, but there's no cameras in A&E, only on the doorways.
And so what is the effect been, Keith, on you since this, 2009?
Well, to start with, that totally dragged him down, as you can imagine. I mean, it's the not knowing what happened to you, the pain. I was in a lot of pain.
And also, what I can't understand is that the fact that they even had a letter from the matron who signed it, that I don't seem to have taken that into consideration.
And that letter basically acknowledged that you had received this wound in the A&E?
And that I didn't have the wound when I was admitted to the hospital. Why would she sign it? To say that I didn't have a wound and they're not taking that in seriously.
Well, listening to that is Carol Watts, clinical negligence. Oh, why can't I say that word this morning? A clinical negligence lawyer from local law firm Picton's. Morning, Carol.
Oh, good morning.
Now, a case like this, I'm imagining, is very unusual, isn't it?
Yes, it's extremely unusual for this injury to happen.
What kind of things, if someone comes to you with an incident, the mysterious incident like this that has happened in a hospital, what kind of things would you be looking for?
Well, what we would do is obviously take all the details from the client about what happened when they were in hospital, and we'd need to examine the medical records very carefully to find out precisely what happened and what's recorded in the notes whilst the person has been in hospital.
It would seem in this instance that very little was recorded. Well, where would you go from there?
I haven't seen the notes, but we would, I think, from carefully examining the notes, we would be able to establish what happened. But if there are... If there's no evidence in the notes about what happened, then we'd have to take very detailed statement from the client, because obviously the client's evidence is very important in relation to an incident like this that's occurred.
And then what would have happened? How would I mean, this has been slightly different, and we'll come on to what's happened with their case in a minute, but then what would the progression be?
Well, what we would do is we'd examine the medical records, take a detailed statement from the injured person, and then we would need to obtain an expert opinion to advise us whether there has been any negligence in the case, and if there has, we can then proceed with the claim.
The hospital haven't said sorry. Is that because that would then imply that there's some sort of guilt?
No, it doesn't imply guilt, because the complaints process is there to enable clients to obtain an explanation as to what's happened to them and to address any concerns they have. Now, it's possible for the hospital to apologise, and also they can actually accept the complaints made by the client and can apologise, but that's not an admission of negligence.
Now, this happened over 3 years ago. So, and that's too long for them to pursue it now, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, the usual time limit for bringing a claim in most cases is 3 years from the date of an injury or knowledge that you've suffered an injury. Now, there can be some circumstances when you can bring a late claim, but that's actually extremely difficult.
And starting this month, it's going to be harder, isn't it, to get legal aid?
Well,
for cases
legal
like
aid,
this?
Yes, legal aid won't be available for a case like this, and the changes came in from the 1st of April this year.
So how would someone like Keith and Pam pursue this if they couldn't afford it? I guess they wouldn't be able to, would they?
Well, no, it's still possible because funding is still available. Prior to April, we had what it's called No Win, No Fee, and that's still available from the 1st of April. The rules have changed, so it's different now. With the funding has changed from the 1st of April, but No Win, No Fees are still available, so there's still funding for people to bring this type of claim.
What kind of clinical negligence claims do you see? What kind of thing? What kind of people come into your office?
We see a full range.
Yeah.
Anything from any type of clinical negligence claim we deal with. So we see delays in treatment, delays in diagnosis, operations that might have actually caused complications which shouldn't have arisen. So we see a variety of cases. And, obviously what we would do is if somebody comes to us, we'll take the details and assess their claim and advise them as to whether we feel it's a case we can take on. And we do give an honest opinion. And I think that's what you'd expect from sort of specialist clinical negligence solicitors.
I know you don't know the full story, but from what you've heard about this, man wakes up in hospital with a mysterious 3-inch wound just above his backside. Is that the kind of case you think you would have taken on?
It is possibly something we would have considered because obviously this is a very serious incident, very serious injury, and it was something that possibly we could have looked at the time.
If someone is unhappy with what's happened to them in a hospital, what would your advice be?
My advice is to seek advice from a specialist clinical negligence solicitor, and details of specialists can be found from the Law Society.
So don't just go to Joe Bloggs solicitors on the high street?
No, I would recommend a specialist clinical negligence lawyer, and also to seek advice at the earliest opportunity.
Well, that's the problem they had here, is it would appear that things dragged on perhaps a little bit too much, and they're now out of that window. And I'm guessing as well that this story in particular I just find fascinating, and we spoke to Keith and Pam earlier on the show. 3 years later, they're still physically and mentally affected by what's going on.
Yes, and I have every sympathy for Mr. Thompson. This is a very serious injury, and I think the fact that there's been no explanation from the hospital as to how this happened whilst he was under the care of the hospital is obviously compounding his distress caused by the incident, because actually it's very hard to understand how this could happen.
Carol, thank you very much for coming in. You did superb stuff. You're not billing us for this, are you? Is this a freebie?
Yes, it's a freebie.
Excellent stuff. Carol Watts, clinical negligence lawyer from local law firm Picton's. Thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Brooke Burford.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. In Enfield, the A10 Great Cambridge Road, that's heavy between Balsmore Lane heading into town to Southbury Road. It's also struggling on the North Orbital Road this morning in Bricketwood. There's a queue of traffic at the roundabout for the M25. The A1 Great North Road, I've got that up on my cameras at the moment. It's quite congested at the Black Cat roundabout heading towards Sandy. And on the trains, there are now 20-minute delays possible on East Coast services between Peterborough to King's Cross because of signalling problems. And it's also affecting First Capital Connect, where they're experiencing up to 25-minute delays between Letchworth Garden City into King's Cross. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Right, it's 8:15. It's Friday, the 5th of April. I'm Ian Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A man is looking for an explanation after ending up with a 3-inch deep wound in his lower back whilst at Bedford Hospital. Many people in Luton say they see their family less as they can't afford the travelling costs due to the rising price of fuel. And in sport, Gareth Bale will have a scan today on the ankle injury he suffered in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Basel last night. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks: wintry showers across many areas, some bright or sunny intervals developing, although the cold breeze will continue. Maximum temperature is 8 degrees. Coming up, £16,000 has been spent on signs saying welcome to Milton Keynes. The problem is, some of them are 13 miles from the centre of MK. We'll get more of your reaction to this before 8:30.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer across Beds, Herts and Bucks.
This afternoon I'm taking my programme out of the studio and I'll be broadcasting live from Lily.
Nick Coffer.
I'll be trying out some rare meats from a local farm, figuring out how to play bridge properly, and I'm going to have a go at playing lacrosse on the green.
Nick Coffer.
There'll also be local musicians, local authors and lots of local stories.
Nick Coffer.
Live from Lily today from 12.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, £16,000 has been spent on signs saying welcome to Milton Keynes. It was nice. The problem is, some of them 13 miles from the centre of Milton Keynes. Norman Kitchener from Lavenden told us about them. He says it's a waste of money to have signs in the surrounding villages.
When I was coming home the other week, I got to the boundary at Northampton. It says welcome to Milton Keynes. Then I drive through to Turvey, through Lavenden to Turvey. The road again is a disgrace, takes ages to get things done. And I get to Turvey and it says, thank you for visiting Milton Keynes. And when you come back, they're saying, what a total waste of money.
I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. When you saw, and it's miles from Milton Keynes, from the city centre.
12, 13 miles away.
When you saw these signs, do you think they've been put there by mistake? What was your reaction?
Well, I just wonder what numpty on the council sort of allowed this to happen when we're trying to save money and need money to spend money on the roads.
Now, I'm guessing from what you're saying that you would rather that the money that had been spent on these signs had been spent on something like fixing potholes or making the roads a bit better.
Yeah, it does. The roads are a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
Well, earlier on I spoke to Conservative councillor John Bint from MK Council. I asked him if these signs are a waste of money.
No, I don't think it's a waste of money at all. I think, as I say, it's traditional to welcome people when you come into the borough or the county area to know the place that you have arrived at.
But people
you are a long way from city, but you are within Milton Keynes, the place.
How much do the signs cost?
We're incredibly proud of. They cost slightly under £1,000 each, and if you work on the lifespan of the previous ones, that works out as under 15 pence per sign per day.
How many signs have you put up?
About 16 of them on the principal roads into Milton Keynes.
£16,000 worth of signs, 13 miles away from the city centre. There are people, including callers to this show, who think that in times of austerity, having up a sign that could be perceived as misleading is a complete waste of money.
No, this isn't. This is welcoming people to Milton Keynes. Every other authority does the same thing. At all those points where people have said, well, why are we welcoming people to Milton Keynes? If you face the other way on the road, you will find that there is a similar sign describing the fact that that's the boundary of Northamptonshire or Buckinghamshire or whatever. So it's entirely appropriate, very traditional.
Lots of you have been commenting on the Facebook page and tweeting about this. I will do your comments very, very shortly. Don't panic. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Go and have a little look and do your comments. And I'll read Jane, Lynn, Shirley, Sunita, Rod, Mary. I'll read yours and others out in a bit. But before that, I'd forgotten you, my darling.
You had. You completely forgotten me.
Oh, you actually sound like a very stern headmaster. Jonathan Vernon-Smith is normally bursts into my studio full of life, doing a little Nick Coffer dance to the music. You didn't do that because you are elsewhere in the world, and so I forgot about you, and I'm sorry about that, Jonathan.
What's a Nick Coffer dance? I had no idea I was doing this.
Well, I don't mean in the style of Nick Coffer. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I mean, just as the Nick Coffer trail plays, the jaunty music, which I love, I'm going to have as my ringtone, you do a little kind of twirly gig to it.
Yes. Well, I've been doing a twirly gig here, but you're ignoring me.
I know. I tell you what I'm trying to do. It's the equivalent of sending you to the naughty step. You're officially on the naughty step, and I was just giving you a bit of the silent treatment, Jonathan, so you would maybe come down a peg or two.
Oh, thanks very much. Right, it's just what I need today.
You're all right. You sound like you're in a cardboard box.
Do I really? Well, I'm coming from here for the next 3 hours.
Oh dear.
It's a beautiful studio. I'm coming to you from Manchester.
Oh, Manchester, England. Yes.
This studio is it's bigger than the one at Three Counties. It's not a box. It's huge.
Wow, the ones at Three Counties are quite cavernous. Yeah. It's a big one, is it?
I'm going to tweet a picture from my window as well. I'm overlooking a river.
Are you sure it's a river? Hello?
There's people rowing on it.
Jonathan, I miss you dearly, but it's good for us to spend some time apart. Absence makes the heart grow and all of that. What's coming up on your show this morning?
On the big phone in this morning at 9, does the Philpott tragedy make a case for limiting child benefit? Mick Philpott, the man who started a fire which killed 6 children at his family home in Derby, is beginning a life sentence. His wife, Mairead Philpott, and their friend Paul Mosley were both sentenced to 17 years for their help in the plot. During their trial, lurid details about Mick Philpott's complex lifestyle were laid bare, and yesterday the Chancellor, George Osborne, said questions should be asked about why the welfare state was subsidising all this. The Independent says his comments suggest Mr Osborne has some sympathy for a controversial proposal by Ian Duncan Smith, the Work and Pension Secretary, to limit state handouts such as child benefit to the first 2 children. Well, from 9 this morning, I want to hear your view. Does the Philpott tragedy make a case for limiting child benefit? 08459 455 555 is the usual telephone number. I want to hear from you at 9 o'clock on this morning's Big Phone In.
Excellent stuff, Jonathan. Will I see you on Monday?
Yes, of course you will.
Good lad.
All tanned.
That won't be tan, that'll be dirt. See you later on. Ta-ta.
Thank you.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Ian Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Back to your comments about these Milton Keynes signs. Jane says on Facebook, what I find baffling is the fact that any signage for Woburn Sands has disappeared from the road signs when you're leaving junction 14 M1. It used to be A5 130 Woburn Sands. Lynn says people need to be aware Milton Keynes is a county and this sign should have mentioned it. We need to advertise and be recognised as a county. Shirley on Facebook says, I saw these at the weekend. Why? Just used to say Buckinghamshire. That was enough. It's not Milton Keynes. Sunita says on Twitter at BBC3CR, these signs don't serve any real purpose. Waste of resources that could be spent elsewhere on roads, e.g. filling potholes. Rod, 13 miles. Expansion of Milton Keynes by stealth. What next? Milton Keynes sign at Buckingham? Mary says 13 miles? My goodness. That is what you call pushing the boundaries. Although the way building is going on, they'll soon be true. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. We've not had a look at the newspapers yet today. I do apologise. We haven't got the Daily Mirror, by the way, which is a shame. It's got a brilliant front page. You know George Osborne? The guy that cut all those benefits for disabled people and stuff like that. Yeah, great picture of him with his massive 4x4 parked in a disabled bay. Well done, George. Well done, George. Another kick in the teeth. The Daily Telegraph. There's a princess holding a basketball. Osborne, why should state fund people like Philpott? George Osborne suggested last night that the conviction of Mick Philpott, who killed 6 of his own children, raised fundamental questions about the welfare system. Yeah, as my friend pointed out, that Mick Philpott also wore shoes. Does that bring into question the state of people who wear shoes? Ridiculous to link Mick Philpott and the horrendous crime he perpetrated with others on the welfare system. And that's going to do you no favours, George. You've made a bit of a mistake there, I think. UK shivers on coldest April day for 20 years. It was flipping cold yesterday, wasn't it? The Guardian. 3 bankers who brought down HBOS. Bank so poorly run, it would have gone bust even without 2008 crash. And there's a picture of a Korean with some binoculars. Not worrying in the slightest, is it? Forget-me-not. Britain seeks opt-out on internet privacy. Britain is attempting to opt out of a European initiative enabling anyone to delete their personal details from online service providers. A power known as the right to be forgotten. Hang on a second. The clash between Brussels and the Ministry of Justice has erupted in the final stages of negotiations over the EU's General Data Protection Regulation. Well, don't quite know what that means. I'm shocked. I don't quite know what it means. The Independent. Worse than Fred Goodwin. the withering verdict on the bank bosses who presided over the £40 billion collapse of HBOS. The former bosses of HBOS will today be savagely criticised for colossal and catastrophic failures that led the bank to rack up losses proportionately twice the size of those made by the Royal Bank of Scotland. Their name? Sir James Crosby, Andy Hornby and Lord Stevenson. 3 men are told to apologise for their incompetence, with the recommendation they should never work in the city again. Youch. The Times, there's a picture of a princess holding a basketball again. Osborne in storm over killers' benefits. Chancellor links Philpott case to welfare reform. George Osborne unleashed a furious row over welfare yesterday by asking whether state handouts to child killer Mick Philpott had contributed to his chaotic lifestyle. In a signal that welfare will be a key dividing line at the next election, the Chancellor said it was right to ask what role benefits played in the tragedy. Really? The intervention was described by Ed Balls, the Shadow Chancellor, as the cynical act of a desperate Chancellor. He said Mr Osborne was being divisive and nasty. We'll try and look at the rest of the papers before the end of the show if we can. Back to this story about the Milton Keynes signs. £16,000, some of them 30 miles away from the town centre. Well, former Lib Dem councillor of Milton Keynes, Mike Galloway, is on the line now. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ian.
What do you think about these signs? £16,000, some of them 13 miles away from the town centre.
Well, it's away from the town centre, but it's right on the boundary of Milton Keynes, and if anything, it's rather late to be having the signs. We should have had such signs long ago. It was 1997 that Milton Keynes County came into existence.
But they don't say the county, do they? They say Milton Keynes, and I think that's where the confusion lies.
Well, it's the same as Bedford Borough is still Bedford Borough. No, the Milton Keynes is a county, but it is not the county of Milton Keynes. So its name is Milton Keynes, and if anything, it would be more silly to be saying county of Milton Keynes. You don't have signs saying county of Bedfordshire.
At times of great austerity, Mike, 16 grand on some signs that have got... The logo looks like it was designed in the 1990s. Is it really the best way to be spending money?
I've got mixed feelings about that logo, but it is one that is now being used quite widely, very well being used. I mean, Destination MK, I'm sure, will give you a view on it, that is being well used to promote Milton Keynes. And I was going to say, in terms of away from the town centre, then actually there is a lot around Milton Keynes, which is the wider area, not just the town centre. You have wonderful market towns, from Woburn Sands in the south over to Stony Stratford, Wolverton, Newport Pagnell, that are all part of the greater, for clarity, Milton Keynes, that we should be proud of.
Oh, and no one's saying that for a second. In fact, I think au contraire, the gentleman that got in touch with us is worried that Norman is worried that places like Turvey will be losing some of their identity because of signs like this.
Well, Turvey, I'm assuming it's on the Turvey-Lavenden boundary, because Turvey is in Bedfordshire, not Milton Keynes, as far as I'm aware, at least. So the question would be, what would you put up? Because what was there in the past was Welcome to Buckinghamshire, which is clearly totally inappropriate.
Mike, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for getting in touch on Twitter, and thanks for coming on the show. Mike Galloway, former Lib Dem councillor. He thinks the signs are great, and they should have been put up years ago. 15 years ago. What do you think? 08459 455 555. The power of Twitter, you see. He tweeted us at BBC3CR or at Ian Lee. Right, 8:29. Here's the travel news now. Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it's not looking too bad for rush hour traffic across the three counties. It's quite heavy in North Watford on the A41 North Western Avenue. That's looking busy at the Dome roundabout, particularly on the northbound stretch. There's a usual pocket of congestion of traffic in Bricketwood on the North Orbital Road at the roundabout for the M25. And the A1 Great North Road, that's slow at the Black Cat roundabout towards Sandy. Now, with the trains, there are 20-minute delays on East Coast services between Peterborough to King's Cross and 25-minute delays on First Capital connect between Letchworth Garden City into King's Cross. This is all because of signalling problems. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thanks very much. 8:30, time for the news and sport now. Here's Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. A man still wants answers 3 years after he discovered a mysterious 3-inch deep wound in his lower back whilst at Bedford Hospital. £16,000 has been spent on signs welcoming drivers to Milton Keynes, but local people say they're misleading after being placed 13 miles away from the new city centre. Many people in Luton say they see their family less as they can't afford the travelling costs due to the rising price of fuel. And scientists in Japan have found a way to read dreams. Researchers used MRI scans to note different patterns of brain activity as people slept. That's the news. Now let's turn to all the morning sport.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Gareth Bale's set to have a scan today on the ankle injury he suffered in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Basel in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final last night. Meanwhile, in that same competition, Chelsea have put themselves in a good position to reach the last four. They beat Rubin Kazan 3-1. Newcastle, though, are facing elimination after they lost by the same scoreline, 3-1 at Benfica. Looking ahead to tomorrow's football locally then, and Watford are set to be without centre-half Fitz Hall for the 5:20 kick-off at home to Championship leaders Cardiff. He was injured in Tuesday's win at Hull, so Lloyd Doyley's set to deputise. In League One, meanwhile, MK Dons host Crawley. After Easter wins over Hartlepool and Brentford, manager Carl Robinson still aiming for the playoffs.
It's made the unbelievable a little bit more believable in the fans. We still believe in ourselves immensely. We think we're a very talented group of people, and we know where we're at this year. And these two victories have put us right in the mix, and it's going to be interesting.
Let's stay with League One then, and Stevenage go to Portsmouth, whereas in League Two, Wickham make the short trip up the M40 to Oxford, but conversely in the Conference, Luton have a long drive to Carlisle, where they'll face Gateshead. But manager John Still's checking on players elsewhere, so assistant Terry Harris is in charge instead.
Enjoying my rugby at the minute. It's a pleasure to be playing when there's big games after big games, and as I said, there's no bigger than this weekend.
That's England fly half Owen Farrell there. He'll return for the 6:30 kick-off as Saracens name their side today for tomorrow's Heineken Cup quarter-final against Ulster at Twickenham. And also tomorrow, Bedford host Llanelli in the quarter-finals of the British and Irish Cup. Tonight, Wasps host Irish side Leinster at Wycombe's Adams Park. That's in the last 8 of the European Challenge Cup. Finally, sprinter Sacre is among the favourites in the 5-strong field for the Melling Chase on Ladies' Day at the Grand National Race Meeting. BBC Three Counties Radio, more from me at 9.
Text 81333. Start your message with 3CR. Text charged at the standard network rate.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Coming up in the last 30 minutes of the show, imagine... hang on, I'm completely in the wrong place. Look at me, I'm all over the shop this morning. I know. Forecourt sales, this is better, of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. What effect is the high cost of fuel having on you? Maybe, like me, you're driving more slowly or you're using public transport more. Our petrol correspondent Justin Dealey has been finding out. We'll speak to him shortly. And it's Friday. Every Friday we like to get a little bit of live music in. Today we're joined by the Zipheads. They're a rockabilly country band. They've been warming up for the last 20 minutes. We'll be speaking to them very, very shortly. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably been a little bit more conscious of how much petrol you're using. Maybe you're driving more slowly or using public transport. Forecourt sales of petrol in the UK have fallen by a quarter in the past 5 years. The AA puts the reduction down to a greater use of smaller vehicles and diesel cars. Well, Hertfordshire-based oil industry analyst Malcolm Bracken joins me now. Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning.
What's your reaction to the fact that sales of petrol are down at the forecourt?
Well, it's exactly what high fuel prices are supposed to do. There's two ways governments can reduce fuel consumption. They can either legislate, as the Americans have done, fuel consumption, or you can slap a tax on fuel and let the market do it. What this shows is very simply the market is vastly more efficient at reducing fuel. In the early 80s, you might have got 13, 14, 15 miles to the gallon out of a car. You now get I get 50 out of mine on a steady motorway cruise. So that is the market working. The incentive is for car manufacturers to produce more efficient cars.
But if the government reduced, we heard a gentleman on earlier on who said if the government reduced their tax on petrol, more would be sold and they'd make more money. Wouldn't they want to do that?
No, because the other benefit of high fuel prices is a lower congestion. If all those people suddenly started driving again, the roads would become even more clogged than they are. It's already, if let's say the Blackwall Tunnel goes down, the whole of southeast England snarls up. There simply isn't room in much of the country for more vehicles to take more journeys.
So are you saying the government wants us to drive less?
Yes.
That's the first time I've heard that, Malcolm.
Obviously moving about by car and vehicle is a vital part of the economy. What's important is that is used most efficiently, and that means a pricing mechanism means that it is used by those that value it most, and people that can substitute. I mean, I, for example, cycle to work. Those that can substitute their journeys do so, so we've got to substitute public transport, rail journeys. London's increasing cycling because there simply isn't room for everyone, less to use the car but more to park.
Mm-hmm. So does this mean, Malcolm, that fuel prices will probably never come down significantly anyway?
Yeah, 60% of the price, around 60% of the price of fuel is tax. So even if fuel prices, even if global oil prices fall appreciably, then the price at the pump is not likely to come down as fast. And of course the other thing is that the price of oil is not a perfect indicator of the price of petrol. We still haven't started getting big supplies from Libya, and Libya's oil is particularly light and sweet and therefore has a lot of the petrol elements within it, whereas heavier, more sulfur-laden fuel require more energy to turn them into petrol as opposed to plastics or whatever else you want to make out of fuel.
Malcolm, thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to getting some of that sweet, light Libyan oil. That sounds wonderful. Malcolm Bracken, Hertfordshire-based oil industry analyst. Well, our reporter Justin Dealey joins us now. Justin, that's the first time I've heard that put forward, that the government wants us to drive less.
I know, but mind you in saying that, if you look at the M1, the M25 every morning, clearly not having an effect because people, of course, they need their cars like you and I in when we go to work. Public transport simply isn't there at that time for us, so we have to use our cars.
But
no
Malcolm seems to be suggesting that if petrol were cheaper, even that those roads would be even busier. And that would be a nightmare, wouldn't it?
It would be a nightmare. I'm in Stopsy at the moment.
I can't imagine you ever getting on a bus. Have you ever been on a bus?
Yes, I have been on a bus.
When?
It's probably about 7 years ago.
Yeah, I just can't imagine you. I like the bus, and I'm a big fan of the bus, and whenever I can, I do. But I just can't imagine you getting on in London with your Oyster card or getting your change. How much? Can I have a return to Milton Keynes, please, mister? How much is that? I mean, I just can't. You're too cool for buses.
I tell you why. Because if you get into your car and you get stuck in traffic, you're still in control of your own destiny to a certain degree, aren't you? If you go to a bus station, it's freezing cold in the morning, and you're not quite sure if that bus is going to turn up on time or not.
And also, you might get a weird person sitting next to you.
Quite possibly.
Although I think you could be that weird person.
Yes.
So where have you been, Justin, this morning?
I'm in Stopsley.
Yes.
The fuel price is clearly having a massive effect on the people that I've been speaking to. In the first and second hour, we heard from people who now don't see their family as much, and also somebody who's given up their car as well. I've been gathering some more thoughts in the last 15 minutes or so, and this is what happened.
Well, James, you just filled up your car here. How much did it cost you to fill up your car?
What? I haven't filled the car up. I've just put enough to carry me over the next 2 or 3 days.
Is that because you can't afford to fill it up?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So how close are you to giving up your car now?
Probably going to have to relinquish it in the next couple of months, probably.
It's that bad?
Yeah, simply because, as I say, not only the petrol, but then, of course, the cost of running it as well. It's difficult to do it on pension. So.
Linda, the price of petrol is affecting you greatly. Can you tell us why?
Because I've had a stroke, I'm now disabled, and I can't get around without the use of a vehicle. And the price of filling up my car is affecting the way I shop and my ability to be able to go out and see friends and do things.
So again, you're saying what a lot of people are saying to me this morning, you can't see your friends and family as much now simply because of the price of petrol.
Definitely. That is correct.
And how upsetting is that for you?
It's distressing, not only upsetting, it's distressing to not be able to reach people that I need at any time.
What's got to happen next?
They have got to reduce the tax on petrol and stop putting the means up, especially for the disabled people that rely on their cars.
OK, just lastly, I'm not putting words into your mouth here, but would you say that the price of petrol and how that's affecting you is making you depressed?
Definitely, because I don't see my friends as much as I used to, because I can't afford to do that anymore.
Siobhan, you just filled up your car here. How is the price of petrol affecting your life?
Yeah, it's really bad, actually. It's gone up a huge amount.
Nothing you can do about it, though,
no,
is
there isn't nothing you can do about it, no.
I mean, are you now thinking to yourself, I'm not going to go and see my friends and family because I've got to make these journeys essential, and that's not an essential journey?
That's right, yeah. It's like I've got a friend up in North, and she's asked us to come up for the week, like for the weekend, but it's going to cost you £60 even to get up there and see her, so we're not going.
So your life has become quite dull because of the price of petrol?
That's right, yeah.
Now, Justin, I'm not putting words into your mouth, but
Yes.
You found some of those stories quite powerful, didn't you?
I did, actually. I mean, we often talk about petrol on the programme because it affects so many people. Normally, we talk to the commuters and we say to them, just how much longer can you carry on paying these prices for? They say, I've got no option whatsoever. No matter what the prices are, I need my car to get to work at least 5 days a week. This morning, we're taking a different angle slightly, talking to people about their friends and family, and it's really, really sad. You heard that woman there. She's depressed. She wants to go and see these people, but sadly, like many people, she's not a one-off. She simply cannot afford to fill up her car, so she can't see the people that she really cares about in her life.
Good stuff, Justin. Thank you very much for that. There's some really interesting stories there. Justin Dealey talking about petrol. You can give us a call on that, 08459 455 555. Honestly, I drive a lot slower now, partly because I got busted and I have my speed awareness this afternoon. Yes, I know. I thought I'd share that with you. But partly, I do use the car every day, and it does cost a lot to fill up. If I travel at 60 instead of 70 miles an hour, I save a significant amount of money each month. Couldn't quantify it because I've just got a new car, but I was saving quite a bit of money each month. Leave a little bit earlier, 60 miles an hour. Got some good tunes in there. Got some new Mama Cass CDs. Having a time of my life. Saves a fortune. 08459 455 555. What do you think about the price? The price of petrol. I bet there's nobody out there that's going, well, to be honest, I think it's a perfectly reasonable price. Oh, it's fine. No, I'm more than happy to pay that. I bet there will be. Who's that green gentleman we get on from time to time who wants everyone to stop driving? Do you remember him? Wants everyone to stop driving. Thinks it should go up even more. Yeah, OK. The Daily Express. Outrage at new drought alert. Water firms say cutback despite our wettest year. Sorry. A warning to millions of customers to watch how much water they use this summer provoked scorn last night after the worst floods for decades. With many areas still recovering from last year's record rainfall, water firms called for wise usage to prevent restrictions. The warning sparked outrage, with campaigners branding the comments weird and insensitive, just months after England's wettest summer on record. And there's a picture of the Queen getting a BAFTA from Kenneth Branagh for Best Ever Bond Girl. I don't think so. That was the one that came out in the bikini in the water, and not Halle Berry. The Daily Mail. Osborne enters Philpot storm as Shameless Mick is jailed for life. Labour attacks Chancellor for saying Britain needs a debate on welfare. The bitter welfare war between Labour and the Tories escalated last night after George Osborne linked the Mick Philpot case to the shake-up of the benefit system. The Chancellor was accused of demeaning his office simply for pointing out that the appalling case strengthened the need for welfare reform. In an extraordinary reaction from Labour, the Chancellor was described as a disgrace for making his comments on the day that father of 17 Philpot, his wife Mairead and accomplice Paul Mosley were jailed for burning the couple's 6 children to death. Mr Osborne made his comments during a visit to the Philpots' home city of Derby, where he was asked if the couple were a product of the benefit system. And The Sun. Die Mick Die. Sister's furious, Philpot gets life. Sister of killer dad Mick Philpot yelled, Die Mick Die, as he was jailed for life yesterday. And they've got a free £10 bet for you at the Grand National. I'll be honest, it was flagged up that maybe we could do something fun on the Grand National today. I'll be honest, and I know some of you will hate me for this. I can't stand the Grand National. I think it's awful. Hey, how many horses are going to be killed this week for your entertainment? I do think it's terribly old-fashioned that we can sit at home on a Saturday afternoon and watch a load of horses dying. It was only 2 last year. Oh, that's all right. There was only 2 last year. For our pleasure and our financial gain. I think it's awful. And I know a lot of you enjoy it, and that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for that. I just think it's a terrible, terrible thing. Horse racing, if you're into horse racing, go ahead and do that. But the Grand National, no, don't think it's any good at all. Right, 8:45. Here's the travel news now. Brooke Burford.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, the roads are moving particularly well for a rush hour. The delays on North Orbital Road in Bricketwood, they've eased up. It's quite slow in Roxton on the A1 Great North Road towards Sandy at the Black Cat roundabout, but not too bad. I can't spot any other delays on my speed sensors. With the trains, though, there are 20-minute delays on First Capital Connect trains between Letchworth Garden City into King's Cross, and that's also affecting East Coast services as well. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Right, 8:46. I'm Ian Lee, and these are your headlines on Friday the 5th of April. A man is looking for an explanation after ending up with a mysterious 3-inch deep wound in his lower back whilst at Bedford Hospital. Many people in Luton say the rising price of fuel means they see their families less because they simply can't afford the travelling costs. And in sport, Gareth Bale is set to have a scan today after he injured his ankle in Tottenham's 2-2 draw with FC Basel last night. Coming up, it's Friday. Music. Before 8:45, I'll be joined by the Zipheads, Rockabilly Country Band. But before that, here's a Rockabilly Country weather girl, Elizabeth Rossini.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. I'm not sure that's a compliment.
No, I'm not sure what it means. It was a compliment, but it doesn't really mean anything, so we'll ignore it. It's better than homely, though, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's better than homely.
Okay.
I'll write it down. Yes.
Thanks very much.
Investigate.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Anyway, so we've got a bit of cloud around, but actually it's brightening up quite nicely across Buckinghamshire, for example. Some good spells of sunshine, brightness and sunshine, really, for the rest of the day, hopefully. Elsewhere it is a bit cloudy, but that cloud should gradually fade away through the rest of the morning into the afternoon, leaving us with some good spells of brightness and sunshine. I tell you what, though, it's all feeling very chilly still because of that northeasterly breeze, and that will be with us for the rest of the day today. Temperatures where we get the brightness and the sunshine will get up to 7 or 8 degrees Celsius, and that's 46 in Fahrenheit. But of course, with the wind chill, then it will feel a bit colder than that. Now, for this evening, for overnight, expect to see a very cold one. Last, that wind's going to drop away, and I can't see anyone feeling too sorry about that, really. And there will be a widespread frost into tomorrow morning. Temperatures down to -2 or -3 degrees Celsius into tomorrow. So, yeah, bit of a nippy start to the weekend, but it should be a quiet, decent weekend. We'll see some good spells of sunshine around, particularly through the mornings on Saturday and Sunday. Bit more in the way of cloud, I think, through the afternoon, just popping up here and there, but all in all, it's not going to feel too bad, and that's mostly because we'll have lost that northeasterly wind. So at last, feeling a little bit more like spring over the weekend. Unfortunately, we will have to wait a little bit longer for the milder air to dig in, probably not until the end of the week, actually, and until then it could be quite wet and windy for the start of next week, but we'll worry about that when it happens, and do enjoy the sunshine. That's the forecast.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Every weekday morning from 9.
The JVS Show.
With the biggest questions.
Today on the Big Phone-In, I'm asking, would you support some dog breeds being removed from this country? Should traffic wardens be more lenient? Would the government be right to drop the minimum price for alcohol?
And the biggest opinions.
I think the tax is completely unfair.
It doesn't matter how old they are or how young they are. They're still your children.
It doesn't matter whether it's male or female or what. I'm disgusted with the people. You should have cut them people off.
The JVS Show.
Weekdays from 9.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, dear listener. This is Ian Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Now, on Fridays, we like to just try and end the week, especially a week like this. It's been very miserable with the weather and some of the news. We like to try and lift you up a little bit with a little bit of music. We've had some cracking stuff in the past. We've had a bit of folk. We've had a harp. We've had we had those people coming in and doing some rapping, didn't we? They were fun. We've had bagpipes. Everything you could think of. Well, this week, file under Rockabilly Country. Oh, yes, please. It's the Zipheads, and they're going to play a little song for us now. Zipheads, take it away, please.
Around. This is what he said. Well, his body's in the present, but his mind's in the past. Got a lot of rocking and he's built to last. Grow up strong and grow up fast. He's a retro kid. It's a blast from the past. Yeah. Last time when all my condition advanced, rocking and rolling at a teenage dance. Indie girl tells me I'm out of style. Well, she tries to put me down, yeah, but I just smile. That's the trends, you know they come and go. All got nothing on rock and roll. Because my body's in the present, but my mind's in the past. Got a lot of rocking and I'm built to last. You know I'm way too strong and I'm way too fast, yeah. I'm a blast from the past. I'm a rocket, ain't never sad. Parents say someone you try to be slain. Teacher agrees and my boss feels the same. I don't care, 'cause when I die, see you all in 1959. 'Cause my body's in the present, but my mind's in the past. Got a lot of rockin' and I'm built to last. Way too strong and I'm way too fast. Well, you can't catch me. I'm a blast from the past. Oh no, you can't catch me. I'm a blast from the past. Well, you can't catch me. I'm a blast from the past. Yeah.
Can I approach you now? Because you gave me the warning finger earlier on, saying don't come near.
I didn't give you the finger.
No, not the finger, but the warning finger. Look, you've got a Gretsch. I'm coming towards the man with the Gretsch. Wow. What's your name, man?
It's Ray.
Ray, this guitar, I forget you. This guitar is amazing. I'm a big fan of Gretsch's. Did this cost you a few quid?
It didn't. Well, it did. This is like the cheapest kind of Gretsch you can buy. It's called an Electromatic. Starts at about £600. All the other ones start about £1,000. So
Gretsch's are amazing. They're an amazing sound. They look fantastic. Why Rockabilly?
Because it's really good, isn't it?
It is really good.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, we were just kind of... We started out as a punk band, but then we were interested into what the punk bands were listening to, and then we were listening into what those bands were listening to, and going back and back and back and back, and it all went all the way back to Rockabilly.
You've got a proper stand-up bass over here as well. How difficult is this to get on the bus?
Oh, you see it on the tube. On the tube, rush hour,
yeah.
Especially if I've got it in the big case as well. It works as a kind of battering ram.
Did you start off playing one of these, or were you on a traditional electric kind of bass and then made the move?
Yeah, electric bass first, and then my bass teacher moved into a camper van and said, I don't have any room for this bass in there, and that's where it started, really. Sat in the corner of my room looking pretty for a while, and then eventually I was like, now let's do this.
It's got no frets, man. How do you play it?
It's easier. There's less chance of going wrong, I think. You can just make it up and go, oh, there it is.
Yeah, you can kind of bend your way into it, of course.
Exactly.
How did you three get together?
Well, myself and Ray here are cousins, so we've known each other for far too long. And we've been playing together for years, come from a bit of a musical family.
Right.
And then...
our drummer was been in the band about 2 years. He used to play in a band called Kiss My Brass, who were friends of ours. And then we got rid of... I forget that that's a pun, actually. I
get away with that. No one's picked up on it yet. Don't worry, it's fine.
That's all right. So we did have a different drummer, but then he was out, and so we were looking for a new drummer. Called up Will. And
listen, is there a website? If people want to find out more about Zipheads, where do they go?
On the Facebook, just search on Facebook, Zipheads, MySpace, Twitter, all of that sort of...
You're really working those social networking sites. We've got time for one more song. What are you going to play for us?
This one's a track called Call of the Wild.
Away you go, boys.
There's a thunderstorm blowing in from the coast. Yeah, better watch your back because anything goes tonight. Well, there's a rumble in the jungle, but the trees are still. Back in the city, we're dressed to kill. You know we hit this sound so hard that we'll be out of sight. Yeah, well, we take a stand all across the land. We're gonna run this town with an iron hand. You can't resist the dance, you don't stand a chance. Well, my blood is pumping through my veins. Heartbeats a rhythm that's just insane. Yeah, I hear that sound and I never felt so alive. Well, the thunder of the drums calls to my ear. I feel you close, I feel you near. Hear you calling to me through the distant night. Well, all my senses go to waste. I wanna see you, hear you, touch you, taste. You can't fight this fire 'cause it's my desire. Yeah, I'm lost inside your eyes, and I know it's my demise. You're beautiful, so tender to me, surrender to me now. My instincts call for you, and I can't hold back, it's true. Well, I can't resist, try as I might, I just can't fight. The call of the wild. The call of the wild. Get it so there's a thunderstorm blowing in from the coast. Yeah, better watch your back because anything goes tonight. There's a rumble in the jungle, but the trees are still back in city. Just to kill, you know, we hit this sound so hard that we'll be out of sight. Yeah, well, the city comes to life when it is a sound. It's a jungle, it's a mountain, it's a battleground. You can't fight that beat, so let's hit the street. Well, I'm lost inside your eyes, and I know it's my demise. You're beautiful, so tender to me, surrender to me now. My instincts call for you, and I can't hold back, it's true. Well, I can't resist, try as I might, I just can't fight it. The call of the wild. Whoa, 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 da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The call of the wild. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now let's get around, ba-da-ba-ba. Call of the wild. I'm lost inside your eyes. I know it's my demise. You're beautiful, so tender to me, surrender to me now. My instincts call for you, and I can't hold back, it's true. I can't resist, try as I might, I just can't fight it. The call of the wild. The call of the wild. Well, it's called the wild. It's called the wild.
Thank you very much. That was the Zip Heads. That was good, wasn't it? Hey, if you hadn't woken up before then, you'd have woken up with that. Oh, it's very loud. Very loud. I like that. I did like his Gretsch guitar. I'm a sucker for Gretsch guitars. Go and look them up. They're beautiful things. Absolutely beautiful. That was the Zip Heads. You can find them on Facebook, MySpace, and all those other social networking sites. They really are working those social networking sites, and good for them for that. Right. Oh, my goodness, look at the time. I should shut up talking. Let's go and get the latest travel now, shall we, with Brooke Burford.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Well, in Bishop Stortford, the A120 is partly blocked by an accident at Stansted Road on the roundabout. Police have just informed me they're on their way and traffic is moving slowly past the scene. There are also delays in Bricketwood on the North Orbital Road at the roundabout for the M25. That's still a little slow. And in Wealdstone, High Road has gas main works at the junction for Risinghome Road. Now, with the trains, I'm pleased to say the delays have cleared on First Capital Connect and East Coast services. That's after earlier problems with signalling. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much as well to everyone who took part in the show today. You may have noticed we've had a couple of stories this week that have been supplied by you. If there's something happening in your area, and it can be big or small, it can be in your house, your street, your town or your county, and you think that we should be covering it on the show, do send me an email, ian.lee, ian.lee, at bbc.co.uk, and we'll have a little look at it. You could be on the show next week. Right, that's it. I'm back on Monday. JVS is up next. Until Monday, ta-ta.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Ian. Good morning. Welcome to Friday's JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon-Smith. And on this morning's big phone-in, I'm asking, does the Philpott tragedy make a case for limiting child